Let the bass kick.
Back to beatboxing, huh?
I know, yeah.
Always.
Y'all started without me.
Holy moly, there we are.
Hello.
Look at that.
Screen.
Welcome back.
We're on the screen.
That takes way less time than I usually think.
What up?
Hello, friends.
What up? Welcome back to episode 88 of the MCDG podcast. Welcome to episode 88, but welcome back to the MCDG podcast. Yeah, got it.
You got it.
It is Monday, July 6th.
We think.
Stumbled a little bit on the date this time. Yeah, but this is episode 88, and this is going to be a big treat for me because we are joined in the studio tonight by my friend Mountain Man Dan Sisk, sitting over there next to
What's
Jay.
going on, Will?
Can you guys get a little
Marcus,
closer
Jay,
together?
good to see everybody here in Nashville.
Yeah. Come a little closer.
A little closer.
Appreciate y'all having me on today.
Yeah, man.
There we
Thank
go.
you for coming. I'm really excited that we actually got to do this in the Sapphire Lounge. We'll get into, I know that a lot of you guys are probably tuning in right now just because Mountain Man is with us, and a lot of you guys are newer and you have no idea who he is. So we'll get into that here in just a minute. Pay the bills real quick, talk about all the stuff going on here in town. Jay,
Yes, sir.
how are you doing?
I'm wonderful today, sir. How about yourself?
Doing all right, man. Feeling good, feeling froggy.
I caught up on my sleep from this weekend, so that helps.
You mentioned you slept most of the day today.
I don't get to do that very often.
Yeah, that's awesome. I wish I could have done that.
Note.
Jelly.
Unlike last week, I made it here. Or the week before, rather.
Yeah, week before. We talked about this. Go back to episode 87, where on the screen it said episode 86 because I forgot to change the episode graphic.
Oh, nice.
That happens.
What up, Marcus? What are you doing? What are you doing? How are you feeling this week?
I feel amazing. I got Dan Sisk in the house.
Got dances.
We're ready. Oh, I'm excited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Watch out.
How about you?
Watch out.
How you doing? How you doing over there?
I'm tired. It's been a long weekend. Everything's kind of starting to run together. But I'm really excited because guess who's in the timeout chair?
Again.
I think that's going to be where Trey lives from now on, I
Yep.
think.
Young Jamie. We call him Young Trey here.
Except he's not doing anything helpful.
Yes. Well, the last time he shut the door for us.
Yeah, I should preface that with a yet because I haven't
There'll
yet
be
given him a task. But no, man, let's go ahead and get the camera right here. So it's I feel like I don't know how I missed it, but we were all kind of just on the edge of the frames here. It's kind of
There I go. I can see
It's a little
myself
odd.
now.
Well,
there we go. That's
Marcus-
a little better.
I see it.
you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Weekly bricky
It is what it is. We'll rock it.
bricky.
I'll do one of these little numbers.
Do
That's
it.
fine.
Yeah.
Do it now or forever hold your peace.
Do it now. I said do it now.
I see Marcus is on the
Yeah, there
young
you
Jamie job that we were just talking about. So
There. Oh, look at him. Look at him. It's
yeah.
like a video game. That's
You guys
much
are
better.
awesome already.
I mean, I'm all in favor of having less Jay.
That's
But
fine by me.
let's even it out a little bit.
Let's check.
Less me. You can hide the face, but you can't stop the voice, baby.
It's
Yeah.
classic right there.
So, pull up some info on the Preserve Championship, just so we have that on deck to talk about at some point tonight.
I got you.
Just so you got a tab open. But yeah, let's get into the weekly breakdown real quick, guys, so that we can get into the real good stuff. So, starting on Saturday, Seven Oaks doubles at 2 o'clock. I believe they are down for the moment because we had events both days this weekend and we have events both days next weekend. And coronavirus numbers are kind of going crazy, and John's being extra careful. So I don't believe 2 o'clock afternoon Saturday dubs are happening this week. Sunday morning, however, we do have Sunday singles at Seven Oaks. Let me see here if I can actually get back into my boom Sunday singles at Seven Oaks. So that is Sunday mornings at 9 o'clock with Q-Tip. And the ace pot for that right now, I believe, is right around $200. So get you some money. Get you some
Did you say
money.
Q-Tip?
Yeah, Joseph Q-Tip Berry.
Boy, that's good to hear his name running something out there. Big shout out to Q-Tip.
Yeah, man. He's still running the Oaks on Sunday mornings. if you're ever in town on a weekend, you should come
Miss
check
that
it out.
guy. You never could have a bad time when you're around with him. I'll
Good
tell you
dude,
what.
for sure. Shout out to Q-Tip.
It's so true.
Also, Sundays, we usually have 2 o'clock in the afternoon random draw doubles. Well, BYOP doubles currently at Cane Ridge, but that's also down because of double headers on the weekends. So I believe the idea is that Cane Ridge doubles is going to be coming back on July 19th. So get in touch with Big Z and let him know who you're going to be playing with, and he'll get you signed up. And let's see, I do have a flyer for that. I'll just go ahead and put it up, I guess. Let's see.
Why not?
Ridge. Why not? Well, I did. Never mind. Nope, here it is. Boom.
Whoa. It went pop behind us.
Boom. Cane Ridge doubles, guys. Sorry for the delay there. Holler at Big Z about Cane Ridge doubles coming back on July 19th. Then, moving into Monday, we've got Squancher's Ferry doubles at Sanders Ferry Park. We've got a new flyer made for them, so there's a little treat for you. But that's a
nice.
5 o'clock sign up, 5:30 T, $10 all in, and there's an optional $5 CTP. They're going to be offering a disc as a CTP every week, and the money will go to new baskets for Sanders Ferry, which we're also committed to helping with. So go out and join the guys. They're out there playing right now. I
That's
talked
Russell
to Russell
Hammond
today.
now, right?
Yep, Russell Hammond is the TD for that event.
Nice. Big shout to Russell.
Yep. Love Russell. Love you. Also, Monday nights, we got random draw doubles at Sharp Springs, so you guys can go check that out. I don't know what their ace pot is. Also, Sanders Ferry ace pot is at $280, so get you some money. Don't know what the Sharp Springs ace pot is, but they have one, so you should go chase it. Tuesday nights, we got random draw doubles at Seven Oaks, and that is going to be some combination of Mike McDaniel and Dr. John Williams. So that is also riding at about a $200 ace pot, so get you some money. The ace pot between Tuesday night dubs and Sunday singles with Q-Tip is shared. So just so you guys know that that's what's going on. Also, Tuesday nights, we've got Triple Creek random draw doubles at Triple Creek Park in Gallatin with Casey Newton and DJ Wicks. And that is a $250 ace pot, so get you some money.
And everybody wants to beat DJ Wicks.
Wants to beat. Doesn't always
Wants
succeed
to.
in that.
He was my partner this weekend. He's hard to beat. I enjoyed being on his team.
Yeah.
I heard you helped him out a little bit, though.
Maybe one shot.
Yeah. So also that's Tuesday night. Moving into Wednesday night, we've got the Wednesday night tag extravaganza, and that is Dr. Hoy running the show on this event. That is every Wednesday. Sign up anywhere between 4:30. We'll start sending groups out at 5. Last group at 5:30. $1 to play goes to the course fund. Everything else is optional, including ace pot, CTP, and side action. So come out there. It's a great time to meet the people that are involved in the club and get to know some new friends and play on a card for tags. It's fun. You don't have to have you don't have to have a tag. You can get one,
Or just show up and pick up your tag for those guys who are asking from the bag tag.
Right. Also on Wednesday nights, we've got Cedar Hill random draw doubles with Billy Fowler and company. Don't have an ace pot update for that event, but it usually is pretty sizable because that's a hard course and they don't cap it. So I'm sure there's a sizable chunk of change out there at Cedar Hill on Wednesday nights. If you feel like playing dubs on Wednesday night, hit up Cedar Hill Dubs. Get you some money.
I think we should change his name, though, to Lucky.
Lucky Fowler?
Billy. Yeah, Lucky
no, it's
Fowler.
Billy M.F. Fowler, dude. Get it right. Everybody that ever says Billy Fowler without an M.F. in the middle owes Billy M.F. Fowler $5.
Boom. There you have it, folks.
I'm sitting at 30.
I'd say that's all good karma. It wouldn't be luck with Billy Fowler.
Oh, no.
Input he gives to
his
the guys at
raffle
Cedar
luck.
Hill.
He kind of knows what
Oh,
he's
I
doing.
see.
Yeah, he wins a lot of raffles.
I got you.
Yeah. If you guys don't know Billy Fowler, he's the course captain at Cedar Hill. He's the guy that makes all those beautiful changes to the course and keeps it looking pretty and all that good stuff. He's the med scientist at Cedar Hill. Yeah. So shout out to Billy Fowler. Billy
Yeah,
M.F.
for
Fowler.
sure.
I know.
Yo,
I owe him
$5,
$5. Billy, I owe you $5. I'll get it. He won't see this. He doesn't Facebook.
That's right.
Also, Wednesday night, we've got random draw doubles by Duck River Disc Golf at Henry Horton State Park. And that is run by Tim Saffer. I think Jimmy Elkins is out of town now, so I'm not sure who's helping Tim with that these days. But Logan's usually out there. They have 4 bounties at $250 now. to get you some money. The way the bounties work is they're designated holes. If you hit them from the tee pad, if you jump putt from the tee, then they have their own designated ace pot for those holes.
That's
so there's
cool.
4 of those at $250, and then there's an additional special bounty on hole 12, aka the Stairway to Horton, that is at $350. Sick.
Wow. And what day is this?
That's Wednesday night.
So I need to go ahead and call in sick again tomorrow. It sounds like
I didn't say what the ace pot for the WNT is, but that's actually also at least $268.
Hey.
So get you some more money. So you basically there's like $1,000 to $2,000 up for grabs in ace pots on Wednesday night. Probably over 2,000 if because I
Just
don't
on
know what
one
Cedar
night.
Hill is. I don't know what Cedar Hill's at, but yeah. Wednesday night is the night to really have to like, oh God, where am I? Do I want to play tags? Do I want to play doubles? What do I do? But every night of the week we got disc golf. That's the beauty of it.
probably comes down to the drive. People from Nashville getting all the way down there in the middle of the week. Huh?
And that's why we do
Absolutely.
it all over the place.
That's right.
Well, that's
Yeah.
why it's kind of why there's so many events on Wednesday, because you're covering so many sections of town.
Yeah.
Which just kind of works out because you know how traffic is around here.
Yeah, we didn't have that back in the day. That's great to see.
Oh,
that
it's a lot
now
better
in
right now
Nashville.
than it has been in the last year.
That's good.
Yeah,
But-
that traffic has been a lot better.
Yeah, I mean, it's getting worse the more stuff opens back up. But then moving into Thursday, you guys, we've got White House random draw doubles with Lance Kirby and company out at White House Park. And it's awesome. We were just out there for Independence Dubs on Saturday, and it was beautiful.
Absolutely.
Lance and them keep that course looking immaculate, and they just got brand new red, white, and blue veterans.
Man,
Shout
that
out.
was really impressive this weekend. And shout out to Will and his crew for MCDG running a great event. That was awesome. All in the trees. It was very comfortable on a hot day. That couldn't have been thought out much better. Shout out to you, Will.
Thank you, man. Actually, I mean, I deserve very little credit. Lance does all the work. I just move.
Great job,
I just move
Lance.
numbers around.
Yeah.
But
The course looked great.
oh, dude,
Oh.
they kill it out there.
That course
It
is
always looks
absolutely
amazing. It's such a
pristine.
great addition to Nashville disc golf. But yeah, Thursday nights, 5:00. Get out there, sign up. You see all the entry information there. $10 all in, and there's the breakdown to pay out CTP, Ace Pool, Course Fund, all that good stuff. Tee off is at 5:30. Holler at Lance Kirby about White House doubles. The ace pot there is Captain running it. $300.
Boom.
Get you some money. Get you some. Also, Thursday night, we got random draw doubles at Barfield. I don't have much more information than that, but I know that that's also going down circa 5:00 p.m. Central Standard Time. So go out to Barfield if you're in the Murfreesboro area and get some more doubles action.
That's
out there.
been going on for a long,
Long
long
time.
time.
New
sir.
guy running it, and I forget his name off the top of my head, but
Really.
it's back. Yeah, for sure.
I remember going out there and getting Logan as a partner before he was old enough to be a teenager. And if you drew Logan, you won. You kind of knew he was going to be something
It's
one
kind
day.
of the same.
Oh, yeah.
If you draw Logan, you probably still win.
Not much.
Yeah,
has
and
changed.
then I got to go out there for the doubles and then the tiebreaker and got beat by Logan again. So it just continues to carry on. But great job, Logan and Tony Bowers. It was great to be out there with you guys.
Man, it's just good to see Tony playing again.
Yeah,
Man,
absolutely.
I asked him, I said, man, that knee's a lot better now, huh? He said, well, I got a new one.
Yeah, totally new knee.
He hit every line for the first 9 holes. It's really impressive to watch. Yeah, enjoyed that.
Also, guys, that's your Thursday information. Friday, we've got the Two Rivers Bag Tag Series by Black Monocle Disc, Donnie Bannister, Zach Evans. Where did I do with their flyer? Two Rivers Tag Flyer. Boom. Phew. So check it out. That's also a $10 entry. You must have a $10 or a Two Rivers bag tag, which you can also get on site. And all the funds from this are going to finish up the renovations at Two Rivers, you guys. So this is a good one to support. And holler at Donnie Bannister about that. I believe their ace pot right now is over $210. So
Wow.
get you
Nice.
some money.
Just real quick, though, just as an update for those renovations, how close are they? They're really, really close to being done.
Yeah,
aren't
just a couple tee pads left, I think. And
Is that Two Rivers got redone again? This will be about the 7th time in the last
they? Yeah,
6 years.
we had
I
to do.
think.
They had to do something for safety. Again with the walkers.
All the
Usually
issue-
the
yeah.
issue out there is
The
just so wide
pavilions
open,
and
it's
the-
hard to get a design in. I can remember when that course was part of the state tournament,
yeah.
and it used up the back left side. You know, you could only use it for that tournament, but that
Yep.
park has brought us a lot of great disc golf.
Yeah, and
It really
the new
has.
layout is, I mean, it's there are people that don't like it, and I get it because I understand that they either want something from Two Rivers that will never happen, like they want it to be the old layout, one of the old layouts, or they are completely oblivious to the problems that the most recent layout
That they
posed.
face, correct.
Yeah, I mean, like some people that are so just tuned into their disc golf experience, they don't realize how much safety problems are being presented by certain
Sure.
things,
But-
and I get it, and it's fine. But it Zach Evans totally designed the
he took it on his
the
shoulders.
layout, and he didn't fly at it blind. We had Dave Griffin and Sean Sinclair go out there and walk his proposed layout with him and give him some
good.
pointers and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's all been thought out for sure.
Yeah. And we have to keep in mind, too, just to keep it positive, coming back from the day, we didn't even have all these options. So now, at least you have a course there. I can't tell you where there's a bad course. So it just gives us another opportunity to throw disc and
Sure.
get new people interested in the sport. So at any rate, if you can get a design out there that works, that's a course. When other courses are full of tournaments, that you have an option to go to that's still there. So it's,
Yeah, well, I mean, the common philosophy is for every big, hard course you put in 2 beginner-friendly courses. And Two Rivers, even if it's in a long layout, it's great for beginners because it's mostly open, which
Right,
is
yeah.
not common for Tennessee.
Sure.
And other than that, too, I mean, like, we're bringing it back to the Music City Open. How many years has it been since Two Rivers was in the Music City Open? So
A lot.
it's going to be in the rotation this year. So-
that'll be nice.
yeah.
And remember, it's
That's huge.
viewable from Bradley Parkway. That park has just a lot of positives to bring new people into the sport.
Absolutely.
I'm glad to see it going on. Zach Evans, great job.
Yeah, you heard it here. Shout out to Zach Evans. Last thing we've got going on of the week, we've got the weekend kickoff. And that is also on Friday nights, and that is Jordan Webster's event. AMs get in for 10, pros for 15. That includes Ace Pot, CTP, and $1 to the course fund. So holler at Jordan Webster. I believe they're going to Cedar Hill this week. Could be mistaken about that. They rotate courses. So watch the Facebook pages. Holler at Jordan Webster to find out exactly where they're going to be. And
Did you break it?
I broke it down.
Whoa.
Go.
It's been
That's
broken.
impressive how much golf you guys have going on around here. Back in the day, I can remember early 2000 to 2005, in the late 90s, you could have done all this in about 3 minutes.
Yeah.
For
Yeah,
what
we
had
got it
available.
every day of the week.
Yes.
Multiple events on some days.
That is amazing.
One of the people don't know this, but one of the reasons why we kind of had formulated and planned this podcast to start with was to be able to give somebody all the information all in one place.
That's fabulous.
Yeah, so
What a
that
great,
everybody.
great
Well,
idea.
I mean, if you have events every day of the week, and they all have their own ace pots, that's one thing nobody ever knows is what's the ace pot at. And that's
Yeah.
like one of the things that everybody always asks. So this is a great spot to just be able to say, hey, plan a tour.
Yeah. This
Go
ace
on tour
pots-
this week and hit all these events and get you this much money.
Well, what's crazy is when we first started doing this, and it's just ace pots, but like, remember we counted the whole week, and it was like $1,500 worth of ace pots, and
Wow.
now Wednesday you have literally $1,500 in one night.
One spot.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, real quick before we jump out of all the current stuff, I do want to say we've got coming up next weekend, July 11th and 12th. We've got the Straight Out of Quarantine weekend at Ogwood. Saturday is the makeup date for the 6th annual All Good at Ogwood, sponsored by Flying Colors Disc Golf. So come out there and support Ed and Kim Birdie at this event that has been going since we opened the course. And then Sunday is the makeup date for the Event 3 in the Music City Disc Golf Bag Tag Series that we missed due to the shutdown. So we've got a whole weekend of disc golf at Ogwood. You can camp. You can do whatever you want. Holler at us. Well, not whatever you want. Within reason. Holler at
Yeah,
me.
you know.
Yeah, if you have if it's questionable, just ask me. But that's coming up also on July 18th, the following weekend. We've got a fundraiser event. I believe that's at White House Park, and that's for Zach Evans' dad, who was recently diagnosed with cancer. We're gonna.
this week and hit base pots, and now Wednesday.
What is going on, sir?
What happened was
What happened was. So, Dad, that's July 18th, and then we've got the Battle of Music City coming up on July 25th, Saturday, July 25th. That's the team format, team challenge event that we had Andrew Lamont on last week talking about. So get signed up for that. Registration's open on Disc Golf Scene, 7-member teams, specific divisional slots. So find that information. There's an event page under Music City Disc Golf. look that up. Get involved. It's going to be really cool. That's also sponsored by Flying Colors Disc Golf, so there will be a players packs to everybody that signs up that will get you $10 credit on the Flying Colors Disc Golf web store. So, yeah, get involved in that. And then the very next day, on July 26th, Nashville Disc Golf Store has White House Huck Fest 3.
Boom, boom, boom.
It's another sanctioned event. I believe that's a 2-round C tier that is, what did they say, ignited by the Nashville Disc Golf Store?
Yeah, I believe. Yes,
Yep.
Ignited.
Sean likes to use that.
It's
like
good.
it.
It's clever.
Shout out to Sean.
It's original.
Get
yeah.
you fired up, huh?
Yeah, it's provocative. Keeps the people
Gets
going.
the people talking. Yeah. And then the only other thing I've really got on the radar, and it's still in development, but I've been talking to Ruthie Toothy, Miss Ruth Miller, about having a trilogy challenge on August 1st,
Wow,
which was
okay.
also, I believe that's either National Disc Golf Day or Grow Disc Golf Day, but it's one of the disc golf days.
Sure. Well,
So-
just having one of those challenges. We hadn't had one of those in a while here in town, so it's nice to see coming back.
Yeah, and I should have brought, because I have one of the players packs. Mm-hmm. Because actually 2 of them, because they sent them to me in different plastics. But
Lucky you.
yeah, perks. But they're awesome discs.
Did you get any judges you want to give me?
No, it's a new disc every
I
year.
know, but,
you can
you
only
know,
get these
your perks
these
might have
unreleased
gotten you a
molds by
judge
playing
somehow.
in a trilogy.
But those
Get
little
with the program.
Yo.
Yo. All
Right
right.
over there. Like,
So-
get with it.
I see we've got plenty of people signed up, or not signed up, but checked in, tuned in to the
Tuned in
live
or something?
feed. So thank you guys for tuning in.
Yo, thank you.
I know a lot. I think probably several of you are here just because of the simple fact that we have this man in the Sapphire Lounge tonight.
I don't know about all that.
I would not be surprised.
Yeah,
They've
but,
heard me talk about myself my whole career.
but for those of you that are watching that do not know the gentleman sitting next to Jay Skinner, and you keep getting farther away from him still there, Jay.
I'm sorry. My apologies.
Come back to
I told you I like the lean. I had it set up.
Yeah.
Baby,
That's
come
all right.
back.
Baby, come
Baby,
back. I
come
love
back.
it.
A lot of dead
Is
space
it me
there.
you're looking for?
All right,
But-
no singing on this show. It's not John Boy and Billy.
Oh,
I
you
did
don't wanna
say
hear
when I
us
got
sing.
here, it looked like the John Boy and Billy Salt and Pepper edition.
Kyle Marsh
Kyle Marsh.
is being an awesome guy
It looks great.
and making a comment about the fact that we're not wearing masks. So I would like to point out
He's
that we
6
have a
feet
no
away.
contact thermometer. And not only is Dan not exhibiting any symptoms, but he is running a normal temperature. So you guys can.
And you don't know where we're located. We're in Robertson County, where there is no mask thing.
We're not in Robertson County. What are you talking about? Anyway, no, everybody is totally safe and clear here. We're having a good time, and we're being precautious. But yeah, you can't hear us very well through those masks. So we've got to keep the microphones close to our face.
I have to wear one
Anyway.
in North Carolina, but it's full of tobacco spit.
I work at Vanderbilt. I have to wear one all the time. So, but I wanted to say, for those of you that are new to the club or new to disc golf, and you don't know who this man is, this is Mountain Man Dan Sisk, and he was, among many other things, he was the TD of the first PDGA event that I ever played, the Rumble at Ravenwood in 2014, which was a B tier.
That's
and
a big one to bite off for your first one.
I mean, it was a great memory to have as your first PDGA
Absolutely.
event. I mean, it was blown out. You guys, I mean, obviously, it was epic. It made Ravenwood mythical to me, and I've spent a lot of time there since.
A lot.
Yeah, you used so much time that you had to outdo the Rumble at Ravenwood in 2014 with that monster beast you put out there at the MCDG.
Less
that was
holes,
an
too.
Amazing layout. I really enjoyed that.
Shout out to Sean Sinclair. That was his crazy
that was
idea.
his baby.
It's good that you guys have him in the area. I have heard about that, and I'm sure he's had his hands in on a lot, and you couldn't have a better person on design and stuff that knows about the PDGA and what it takes in these big tournaments to make something happen. I was real impressed with that layout.
We
Really
were
enjoyed
incredibly
myself.
fortunate to have Sean.
I tell him all the
Sarah.
time. I get all mushy in text messages like, I'm so grateful that you are my friend and don't ever leave me.
Thank you, friend.
But shout out to Sean Sinclair. We love you, dude. And Sarah Sinclair. You guys are both gems. And the other thing, interesting connection between my beginnings in disc golf and you, Mr. Mountain Man Dan Sisk, is that I have never had a forehand. I barely get by now, 7 years into playing the game. And I remember there was a clinic that you and Kenny and Barry put on attached to the Rumble where
Well,
you...
Kenny and Barry, anyway, I just thought I'd look good standing next to him.
Well, you definitely
you did.
Well, I mean, like, obviously, I've got. Let's see here. I'm going to pull this up real quick. I've got some pictures here.
Pictures.
I think
Look,
they let
so
me.
there's
I
me-
think they let me throw through a few thumbers at
Whoa.
the end. Anyway.
There's me and
nice.
Kenny.
The
So
beard's
that,
not as thick then.
no, well, I mean, bad angle, but so yeah,
So that was
look
on
at that
on
guy.
Friday, right? During the practice day.
that right there, I believe, was actually on the first day.
Oh, was it?
I believe that was
Okay.
on Saturday. But yeah, so it was really exciting for me to meet Kenny and Barry. But I remember the one thing that I really vividly remember from that clinic is you teaching thumbers. And I really latched onto that. And it was like immediately after that clinic, I started looking up videos on how to throw thumbers. I was looking at Schwebe's stuff and a bunch of
Yeah,
other
he's
videos
good.
and stuff. But you were the one that really even introduced me to the possibility of throwing something overhand.
Nice.
And I tore off on it. And one of my buddies that had gotten into disc golf with me, he like really latched onto thumbers. I ended up calling him Thumber Davis because he would just like deuce everything, just throwing only thumbers.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So there's a little bit of background between me and Mr. Dan Sisk that you guys probably aren't aware of. But, dude, you've been around disc golf since the 90s. And, obviously you left a lasting mark on disc golf in Nashville. That event made Ravenwood mythical,
Thank you, man. That was this man sitting next to me right here was a big part of that as well. It
Yeah.
was and I
thank you.
think Bobby Brody had 2 holes on that design, and a little shout out to Bobby there making all that happen.
Absolutely.
But we definitely have to acknowledge that.
Yeah, definitely.
He's the reason that Kenny and Barry got up here. He brought him up here for that event where you were talking about.
Yeah, because they
what
were
it was
Team
to
Cloud
have it.
9.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. So
Shout out to
But,
Cloud 9 disc
well,
golf. I'm sure there's a bunch of people watching the show that don't know what Cloud 9 is.
Well, you go
Yeah,
back.
they-
Or there's a new Cloud 9 now, so they probably think
Yeah,
it's
I
was
still
seeing
got a
that.
team shirt if you guys want me to bust it out, okay?
Oh,
Dude,
got
you should go find
you
it.
I
think
still got the team shirt. No, the
Part of
gray-
that
the
is
gray
while
one.
he digs through
The
the
gray one
closet.
everybody had with the
Yeah.
Cloud 9, right? I've
Yeah.
still got that. Yeah. I almost wore it, but I was like, ooh, I'm part of
Dude,
yeah, but it seemed like it was a lot with me.
Nashville
But
Disc Golf
Bobby
Circuit.
had a lot to do with that, and without him, I would have never been able to travel the way I did
Yep.
and play the tournaments that I got to play in. So I have to put a shout out to him for what he did for Nashville and
I was
helping
that,
us.
another unsung hero, and I know personally we've tried to get him on the show. It's just scheduling hasn't worked out, but he was one of those guys back in the day who made disc golf happen around
He
here.
made it happen. He
I
sure
mean,
did.
yeah.
I remember, now I'm on the ambassador team for Dynamic Disc, but the first Dynamic Disc product that I ever bought was at Cloud 9.
Sure.
Oh, nice.
I was trying to replace a Valkyrie for like 6 months, and I was like at my wit's end in Cloud 9, and I was there, and somebody was like, "Here, try this."
yeah.
I tried
So-
it, started the whole thing. But Bobby
That's
was
awesome.
always like, I was really impressed because when I was brand new to it, I would go into the store and he would always sit and have a conversation with me and engage me just like he knew me.
He loved the
like any
people.
other
That was
person.
part of the reason he wanted to be at the store. He loved to hang out with the people, hear the stories, get new people into disc golf. Everybody didn't know a lot about Bobby that way, but he was just amazing for the sport and getting new people introduced.
You talk about Ravenwood being first. There was a first for a lot of things. It was a first for your PDGA event. It was the first time that I had ever been given the chance to be a part of running a tournament or being there to watch the design progress happen. And he gave me a little spot
Hang on.
here.
Well, let me stop you right there. A part of the design happening, or maybe a part of the desigin?
You gave me a little bit here and there, which I will still proudly flaunt when people are out there, which I've told people about.
Go ahead. Sorry.
But getting to see the process and being the first time, just like you were saying, was for me a dream come true. When you're talking about somebody who wants to get involved, and then like Bobby's like, here, let's do this. And I had just, I don't know, maybe 6 months before that, really, I joined Team Cloud 9
Correct.
and started being involved with those guys and Marcus and Dan taking me under the wing is like, this is my right hand man for this design process, and just walking me through it and wanting to teach at the same time as make sure that I was still on that level and not to ever lose that level of professionalism. And it was a mindset you kept preaching.
Thank
A
you.
mindset that you kept preaching. It was, you have to have a different mindset if you're going to be up here. If you're going to be down here in your career, be down there and enjoy it. But if you want the top and the best, you have to be up here. And that was one of those things that I took away from that. And that goes into way more than just disc golf for you, I'm assuming.
Thank you, Jay. Yeah, for sure. That's the idea is to give somebody something that's consistent, so it continues to work every time. And when you take something to a new level like that, and it takes a team of people. It wasn't me. It was everybody. You know, you got to surround yourself with better people than you are in order to achieve. I think Bill Belichick taught us that in football, right, with the Patriots.
Sure.
But you surround yourself with good people, and you look like a hero. But we had a great team out there.
Yeah, we
ran
did.
a very professional event, and hearing this feedback is just wonderful. I just smile that it was your first experience, and you got to meet Kenny and Barry and everybody that was on top back in the day at that time. But really had a good time on that course. I was living in South Carolina, so it was about a 6-hour drive, 5.5-hour drive. I guess it's 6 hours.
It was a good
Each
haul.
way.
Yeah.
And it was 3 straight months every weekend. And I got there every time Jay Skinner was waiting at the gate. I don't think one time he was late.
It was
But,
just weird.
that's what it takes right there is dedication.
Wow. What happened to you?
You threw me under the bus. You threw me under the bus.
Was there something that happened in 2015 that I don't know about?
What
I had a
happened?
really aggressive T-ball coach.
Because I remember you being there, but I didn't know you then. And then now it's like we're lucky if you show up, and like sometimes we just have to hope you're okay.
But wait a minute, let's not be too hard on him. I heard he's got another mouth to feed or something
Yeah,
that got him a little
just-
tired.
That's
up.
why he
Situations
gets a
change,
pass.
but-
He gets a little extra grace because he's living that dad
But
life.
he's
It's all
right.
good.
He's right. I have a little bit of tendency to being late, and I have actually just been a no-show a couple times, but never a no call. I always give a call.
Yeah.
And let you know what's going on. It may
Way to
not be
keep
the
it
same
professional.
day,
Keep it professional.
That's right.
Yeah.
and that's my fault. And then I told Will and just like and Zach and the guys who are on the board, like there's no excuse for that. That was 100% my bad. And
Oh, I'm
and
joking.
well,
I'm joking
I know,
with you.
I know that, but in the,
But
in the
hey, it's good to
aspect
cover it,
when
you
you
know.
when you talk
Yeah, it
about
was.
that,
It was very hurtful.
when you come
Dodging.
here, and then sometimes you don't always stay up to that standard.
I
you
don't
know.
think any of us do, Jay.
No,
I've
they
slipped
don't.
more than once.
Nope.
I can guarantee you that.
I
Sure,
beat myself up all the time.
Yeah,
But,
but the idea was the point I was making. Just having somebody there like that, it just fires you back up, you know. And that 6-hour drive was a blessing. That's how we got that great design that we all got to enjoy. Was just all of us having more time to think about what we can do to make it better.
Sure.
Jay can probably vouch for that. I don't know how many times he got mad at me for changing a green, or but I want to stop right there and put a big plug to Ravenwood. There's a real unsung hero at Ravenwood that didn't get enough credit at the time, and this is a great opportunity. But Jackie Logan showed up at the course. Now, guys, when I got to Ravenwood, it was me and Bobby. It was pouring rain. I was on my way to Memphis to see my dad. He says, "Mountain Man, we got this call about Ravenwood." I said, "Well, I'll meet you over there." Well, I met him on my drive through to Memphis, and it was pouring rain, and we had umbrellas out, and the grass was above our waists. And we're looking at 90 acres of 5-foot tall grass. And both of us looked at each other and said, "Let's do it." We didn't know how we were going to do it,
Yeah.
but that's how the dream became alive. So we walked the whole park for about 2.5 hours in the rain, if that tells you anything. And we had ponds covered in green moss, and didn't know how to get things straightened out.
I think
but
that's the signature of Ravenwood.
Yeah.
It is the
the
green
mossy
pond.
Is it
Yeah.
still that way?
Oh yeah, yeah.
The only difference was for the Mossy Pond, they let us run the pump house. When we've been back since, they shut the pump house down.
That's what I was going to get to. Was we were able to turn it on and clear it up somewhat. We still had several people covered in moss after. The
Oh my
tournament.
gosh, yeah.
Well,
I
remember,
that
it
now.
was like-
Whoever did that design, that whole 27 ate a lot of this at the end there.
It was like it would turn on randomly, and at certain times of the day we'd go by and the pond would be clearing out in
Yeah.
the direction from the pump house.
Yeah.
But it was like it was turning on randomly because we asked about it at one time. Like, hey, can we turn on the pump at like a certain time so that our league, when we have coverage, like that it looks good? And they were like, "Oh, that thing, I don't
doesn't
know.
have power.
Nobody
We don't-
knew anything
Even
about
if
it."
it
They were
worked,
like,
yeah.
"You mean it's still like?"
Yeah. So then Bobby got a hold of some friends of his and paid good money and got some bush hogs out there. And that's the way we rolled it out. And then Jay and I started on the design. Jackie Logan shows up to the course and says, "Man, I got 4 mowers, 4 people." Craig Buchanan jumped on one of his mowers. He worked
yeah.
for him sometimes. And in fact, Craig and his wife donated the driving range. So if you guys enjoyed that, they made the signs and set all that up and cut that for us. But back to it, and Jackie shows up with all these mowers and Dana Lanahan and several people. And Jackie said, "What do you want?" And I said, "I want your professional disc golf approach to this mow job." And I had a little input on it, but not much. And I got to tell you, the way he left the grass high around the outside of the 30-foot circle so you couldn't jump in it with a skip when the basket was close to OB, and then he shaved the green flat. If you landed on the green, you slid right onto the path. But that was all over that course, and that really, really contributed to what you were talking about, Jay, the professionalism at that tournament, taking it to the next level. Levon Wolf was the first one to identify that.
Oh, yeah.
You guys all know Levon Wolf, so when he speaks, we all shut up and listen.
Levon's been on the podcast before. Shout out to Levon.
Really?
Yeah, we had him on.
That's a great guest. I
Back
would
in
love
the
to
day,
sit in on that one.
Well, it was
Go back and listen. 'cause
It was
it's a
back when we
great
were audio.
podcast.
We were audio only, and Jay and I were still using a very rudimentary setup.
Yeah.
And I remember the like conferencing software that we were using at the time. It didn't work right that night, or he couldn't get into it. And so I ended up calling him on my phone and having it on speaker and propping it up next to the microphone that Jay and I were sharing. It was one microphone that was between me and Jay, and I had the phone propped up on speaker with Levon. And I don't remember what episode it was, but it was probably. I mean, it was
early on. It was at the house.
Yeah, that was like
At my
under
old
50.
townhouse.
That was under episode.
Well, I can
50.
tell you one thing, knowing him all the years, he was one of the first guys that put an impression on me and wanted me to get good at this sport because of the way he carries himself with professionalism. Jay, your introductory to that is what brought all this up. But
Well,
you
just
can't say
speaking
enough about that guy in that sense, just to the way he dressed, the way he carried himself. And I don't even know if everybody knows how much he has helped disc golfers as they start to get good. He'll send you a box in the mail, and he won't take $1 from you, you know.
Yeah.
And Levon has just really been something in this sport.
When you talk about Levon and being there at the beginning, I mean, he's been there almost at the beginning of the sport, but he's beginning of your career. How did that career get started for you? Where was disc golf? How did it come into your life?
Well, at first I'll answer the one question. Levon has been around for a long time at member number 580. So
Yeah.
for those of you that don't know. And what was your question, Jay?
How when you said he was there at the beginning of your career, how did that career get started? Because your
Okay,
career
well,
ranges, I mean, like Will said, 234 PDGA wins. I mean, that's nothing to shake
I don't
a
believe
stick
I
at.
said that, but we were
That's
getting
how
to
many
that.
events I've had in the
he's-
PDGA.
oh,
I
yeah,
have
okay.
20-something wins.
Okay, well, never
But if you wanted to
fact check that. Fact check it.
10% of the games he wins.
But
Yeah,
how?
for
For
real.
But
real?
here, let's touch on that too. I have 20-something first places, but did y'all look up how many second places I have?
Yeah,
No.
see, that's
40-something.
an important number.
40-something. So,
Ah, yes,
as I
very
thought I had a head for disc golf, sounds like I needed to get one.
But yeah, for real though.
so getting
like,
started
you started
was it-
playing in the 90s. So
90s,
how
yeah,
did you discover it?
Well, I had a friend, Dennis Rowland, back in the day. It was in the early 90s, mid-90s, and probably he told me about disc golf for about 2 years before I ever threw a disc. And, man, after that, that was it. You know, as we all know, any of you new golfers that are on this show or listening in, you know after you threw your first disc, you probably didn't know, but the rest of your family wasn't going to see you for a while.
Yeah, that's the truth.
That's pretty much how it happened for me. I was coaching youth sports at the time, baseball, football, and basketball in the county of Laverne, and then I was on the board and had a full-time job. So disc golf's what I could do at the end of the day real quick for a couple hours, and we'd run to Seven Oaks with Dennis and his wife and kids.
Yeah.
And we would run around the course, and I'd go to the gas station. There used to be a Shell, I think, as you turned into Seven Oaks right there, that sold discs. I think Tuna Thompson.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're still there. They still
Okay.
sell discs.
Wow, that's a
Yeah,
that's
Tuna
a
still
long
hooks them up
connection.
too. I think.
Yeah, I think he
That's
does.
20-something years for that. Big shout out to Tuna Thompson.
And they've
man.
been through like 20 different owners of
Owners.
that
Still
store.
sell discs.
and still have the
And
discs
Tuna
out
still
there.
shows up and goes, "Hey, let me check those boxes, and
Not-
I'll fill them back up for you."
Yeah, and Dennis gave me my first disc, and then I went to that gas station and bought a Cyclone, an X-Clone, a DX Hawk, and I put it with 86 mold softies, Whammo.
Wow.
And that's when I got started. And I carried a duffel bag around for about 2 years playing doubles as I got to meet these people. And I remember playing a doubles event with Dave Borders was running the Tuesday night at the time at Seven Oaks. And I drew Dave Borders as a partner. We shot like 10 or 11 down. That guy's putting his straddle. I mean, he's got a wingspan of about 12 and a half feet, right? So we got a 15-footer, and they just pick his disc up because he can just drop it in the basket. But anyway, that was the first win, and that started everything, and then got me a bag and moved on from there, but carried a duffel bag for a long time.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Sure.
Steve Hardy still plays with that LL Bean tote bag that he
Oh yeah,
carries around.
and just you talking about David Griffin, he literally a month ago finally retired from running that event and handed it off.
Really?
Just about a
Dave
month
Griffith
ago.
Just now.
Just now.
Wow. And big shout out to David Griffith. I don't know if y'all know what all it takes at Seven Oaks, but there is a ton of trash cans out there.
Oh, yeah.
And hard to get to all of them. But I remember seeing that guy. It was pouring rain one morning. We showed up over there. Rodney Gold, of course. Got to give a shout out to Rodney.
Oh, yeah.
He's been around this sport.
You're my boy, Blue.
My boy.
Here we go. We can give a good shout out to Rodney by saying, y'all know what he throws at. They're called deer feeders.
Yes. Yep. Mm-hmm.
You are.
And this disc is beefy.
Really beefy.
It's good.
You ever thrown a rhino before?
Exactly. But, yeah, man, a lot of great
We've been
memories.
trying to get Rodney on this show for so long.
Oh,
I was
really?
just
He'd
I was
be
bugging
great
him.
to have.
I was bugging him this weekend. I was like, dude, we'll set your mic up here, and you can just sit downstairs, and we'll pick you up just fine.
But he totally, like, the first thing you'd have to do is go to a school and learn how to speak Rodneyese.
Right.
That's
True.
the first thing.
True.
Because
You want the scoop skip, not the flare. Welcome. And it's
Wickham. What about the Wickham? You got to have the Wickham coming out of your hand.
gotta have the
and,
Rodney
and
stomp.
then the swoosh and the whole story. But when he told you a shot, we're all jokes aside, that guy gave me more tips in my career. I'll give you one real quick. Hole 6 at Seven Oaks. We're in the middle of a tournament, and I'm in the lead. And that doesn't usually happen when I'm playing with Rodney, by the way. And Rodney starts to pass me. I miss 3 or 4 putts in a row, and I'm frustrated. And I say something. He'll wait till you say something. He said, Mountain Man, you ain't pushing with your back foot. I said, but I'm putting low. He said, yep, your timing's off. Push with your back foot. Made the next 6 putts. He still beat me. So here you go. He's going to tell me he's going to give me the tip, and then he's going to wipe me out at the same time. So that's enough of a shout-out for Rodney Go. You guys know the rest of the story.
Oh,
and then didn't that
history.
Rumble at Ravenwood, going back to that,
Oh.
Will, and memories on that, I saw that guy make a putt for – he'll correct me if
$800.
I'm wrong. How much was it for?
$800.
35-footer with
Yeah.
Ken Climo sitting on your right, Barry Schultz behind you, Logan on one side, and Rodney
Ken.
smashes it dead center. So if
Yeah.
you want to know anything about Rodney or past and his history, that guy is amazing.
New tires.
He has gave a lot.
I remember that.
See,
He needed
yeah.
new tires.
New tires.
Not only that, because he walked out of that tournament, and I think I'm right on this one. It was $1,550, right? Wasn't it $750 that he won in the payout?
Yeah.
And then $800 on the skins putt on the hole 26. We used that
Yep.
one as one of the holes in the final 6 match, and that was the basket
that
sitting on the
elevator
edge
basket?
of the pond, coming up off the top
Yeah.
of the hill, and he put that thing 35 feet right in front of it. Amazing. Yeah, good story,
I
Rodney.
wonder if he threw
Love
a
you,
flick on
brother.
that drive. I wonder if he threw a flick on his drive.
You wouldn't have to wonder. You can probably say
Probably,
it was
yeah,
a
you can-
gator as well.
Yeah, that
This
was
Gators got 26 aces.
How many?
26
Yeah.
on 12 on one basket.
Yeah, Rodney's the only one that has a paper plate taped to the side of his disc for more signatures for aces flying off the disc. He can no longer sign a disc without touching somebody else's name.
That's true. That is so true.
He's got signatures
But,
like
back to
faded
that
away.
story at what I was talking about at Seven Oaks. I won't try not to lose track, guys.
Oh, you're good.
We were over there, and I showed up at the course, and it's pouring rain, and who's in the parking lot?
Right.
Me, Rodney, and Justin. And David Griffin, he was already there. And David Griffin already had trash cans empty, was already soaking wet, and he ran the event because us 3 were there. So that's enough said about David Griffin. He is just amazing, and what he's given to this sport, what he gave to Seven Oaks. Dave Griff, I can't thank you enough, my friend.
He just recently kind of announced his retirement from running the Dubs and all that stuff. John
Boy,
Wood-
he gave up a lot of his free time and life
I mean,
and
he's
everything.
been out there for
disc
15,
golf.
20 years, man.
Yeah,
I mean, there are
absolutely.
people
Work
that
days
had,
and
used to
everything.
live in Nashville 10 years ago, and they come back and they show up at Seven Oaks like, hey, is Dave still running doubles?
Yeah.
And
Sure enough.
yeah, and he's earned his place in the pantheon of disc golf legends
Absolutely.
in Nashville. So
And it's crazy when you talk about legends. I consider ourselves fortunate to be surrounded by them.
oh yeah,
I mean, Nashville's kind of been a mecca for a long time, it seems like. Starting with these guys, Steve Hardy, Ken Folger, Dave Griffin, yourself, even Bobby, in a sense. There's so many guys who started this way back in the day in Nashville and pushed it. And Nashville, we get a lot of credit. The board, for the past, I would say 5 years, has gotten a lot of credit for what Nashville is here. And in reality, like that platform and that stage was set for us. And we just kind of, for lack of a better term, remodeled it or restructured it.
Well,
and
what it
pushed
is just you're watching disc golf evolve and be innovative and
Absolutely.
move to the next level, and that's what I commend to Nashville. Music City Disc Golf, MD,
MCDG, yeah.
MCDG. So
Absolutely.
that's what they're doing is taking this to the next step. This is the format, and we can now give the big shout out. Big part of my career and playing and getting better and everything and being around the right group of people. But I'll start with Greg Clement, Farm Fresh, Ken Folgers.
Freshy.
It's hard naming names because I'm going to miss some. Dave Borders.
Well, plus he's got
this is
fun.
all prior to Billy Fowler. Once again, you just commented on Billy Fowler, but I remember the platform that was set before him. These guys at Cedar Hill knew how to build something that was going to last forever. You talk about professionalism. Go play 18 holes at Cedar Hill. Well, now I heard it's 21 or something like that.
Yeah, it is.
I didn't get a chance on this visit, but I am going on the next one. My son just moved here too. Will, I think you got to talk to him yesterday a little bit. He runs a TV station out of Arkansas, but does it from his house in
that's
here
awesome.
in Tennessee. He just moved back this weekend.
Okay.
So
Now, does he throw? Does he get out and play?
no, not a whole lot. But
Okay.
he has a bunch of discs because I drop him off there. But he takes the kids out and plays that way,
Oh, that's awesome.
recreational.
Sure.
So yeah, and somebody's going to have to talk now because I need to go back to where I was at.
No, you're good. I remember you mentioned and you had a birthday party yesterday, and because both of us were with the long weekend, both of us were confused. I was like, "Yeah, it's tomorrow," thinking
Yeah, I
today
thought
was
it was
Sunday, and then turns out it worked out to our benefit because we got to have you in house rather than over the phone, which
Thank you.
for us is huge. And so we're just happy to have that a part of it, and thank you for your son moving back to Nashville because that brings you back here from time to time. And I know that you're in South Carolina now.
Yeah, South Carolina, Clover, South Carolina. I work out of Charlotte.
Okay.
Live in Clover,
And
South Carolina.
if I'm not mistaken, you're still doing tournaments, still running events. Is that right?
Tell us about Lake Lure.
All right. Well, September 11th and 12th, we got Lake Lure coming up. That's been a great one for me. Just been a dream to what we were talking about before, kind of giving back for this platform that everybody has established here for a long time, and now Music City taking it to the next level. I'm out in Lake Lure. This is my chance to give back. I got to tour for about 5 years while I worked and then traveled on the weekends. And now I work at a course in Lake Lure, North Carolina. It's home to Chimney Rock National Park. It's a beautiful place. It's where the movie Dirty Dancing was filmed. And they have a festival there every year. This year it's canceled, and it was scheduled for the same weekend as our tournament. So that's kind of helped us out a little bit because people were having a hard time finding vacation rentals on the lake. But now they've opened up, so hopefully that'll help us out a little bit too as well. But anyway, that started with Sean Groton. Actually, it started with Sid Allen. He got a call and called Sean at the Nashville Disc Golf Store, was interested. Sean called me because I was in the Carolinas. And then I made the first contact out there with the owners, and they were all on board to give a great thing out there. And so the first thing we did was go out and repair some of their bridges and stuff for their golf course. I did. And then started to clear trees and build holes and start this design. The full design is going to take about 5 years. I'm looking to put a 27-hole. I hope to be a championship course. Sean and I are co-designing it together.
Awesome.
Each year we try to bring a little bit more to it. Sean comes out a couple weekends during the off season, and we go through the design, which we just did 2 weeks ago. Sean, thanks for your time and the weekend out there. We got the 27 holes laid out for this year, which is not the championship holes because of the COVID. We lost about 3 months worth of work. I'm not going to have time.
Sure.
7 of the new 9 holes are cut into the woods. So y'all know I got some work to do in the next 3 months. So that's what I'm working on now. It's about a 2-hour drive each way, which is helpful. So you can think about what you're doing, when you go and come back. But we're really excited. Enough about that. I'm dragging on here. The biggest thing about Lake Lure is the opportunity that we have on the piece of property, Will, as we spoke yesterday, what made Ravenwood what it was. It's not any of us individually. It's the property that we get.
The terrain.
The
actual
that
piece
puts
of
us
land.
on it. And that
Because there was an event there last year, 2019 Lake Lure Open.
60-something people. The layout was it was 18 holes from the long tees. It was a par 63, 8,980 feet. And then the short tees were a par 62 at 7,600 feet.
Yeah, but
So
now you've got
27 holes, and we're sitting around 11,000 feet. So we're getting there. We're getting to the championship design. Our idea out there will be, I would like to have maybe 3 sets of tees or 4, because I'd like to put the Open on their own set of pads. So all my hole designs have room for the golden pads. Some of these are the gold pads on the par 3s. One comes to mind off the top of the hill where you're coming out of the woods out into the opening, and you're 137 feet above a 500-foot hole that I laid it out with my rock. I haven't again put it there, but that's
all
the
of
kind
us got
shots.
one triple double in us, and then then maybe we need to be on the bench after that.
But anyway, so a lot of epic shots like that, and that's what you're going to have at Lake Lure. Every pad you step up on. We had the pleasure of having Johnny McCrae, Brandon Brown, DJ Wicks, Jordan Davidson. We had a good group of guys that could throw far. And this year is going to be a little bit more challenge. There's 19 par threes. And there's only 2 or 3 gimmies out of the 19. So the challenge is seeing how many of those twos you can get and hang on to. And then as we evolve into the bigger course, of course, the holes will be much longer. But we do have a par 4 cut in the woods this year, too, at about 540 feet. But big plug for Lake Lure, guys. You got to come out there, man. It's, like I said, if it's for nothing else, it's the views. It's Dale and Kathy at Lake Lure, the owners. It's the atmosphere, the environment. It's a great place to play disc golf, and that they've given us that opportunity is just amazing.
Yeah, and this is a good opportunity to say, I know from personal observation, it's hard to get Tennessee people especially Nashville people, to cross the border because there's so much awesome stuff going on here because we're so awesome. I'm just kidding, but there's so much tournaments. There's so many tournaments going on. So many big ones, and everything's growing, and everything's sold out, and there's so many courses and all that stuff. So people are like, well, yeah, I can play a tournament every weekend right here in town, 15 minutes away from my house.
Sure.
But, I definitely support, obviously we support the Nashville Disc Golf Store, and you have ties to the Nashville Disc Golf community, so we support that as well. But it's like we're team disc golf, to quote Philip Sanders. We're team disc golf.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, if our relationship and our different places and positions can kind of commingle to create something really good and really awesome for more people in more places.
Correct.
That's the big picture. That's the bird's eye of the whole thing.
That's what we're after for sure.
Then that's why Music City Disc Golf is set apart from other clubs, is because we are working with other areas. We're part of a greater disc golf collective, and we're kind of trying, if we have something that's successful, we want to share that with everybody so that they can also share in that success.
Sure. And
not have to go through all the trial and error and mistakes and apologies and all that stuff that comes along with getting testing the old way of doing things and coming up with new ways to do things.
Well, I think what he was talking about at Lake Lure is it's an environment. It's a vibe. It's a feeling. It's a disc golf course, but it's not just a disc golf course. And picking that up from Ken Folger going back, he didn't run a disc golf tournament. He ran a disc golf event, or an event in his case, which was just Frisbee events.
Yeah.
But picking that up from you and Bobby, it wasn't just a disc golf tournament. We did so many other side things. We had putting contests. We had I forget the name of the bar, but we had that huge players party. We had
that was
had the
nice.
meet and greet with the pros, Kenny and Barry, and then you had the clinic, which, if I'm not mistaken, is like the 3rd or 4th clinic ever done with those two as partners in a clinic.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Like,
It was pretty epic.
Yeah,
to have
absolutely.
those two
And when
talking to us.
when you
Lightning
look
100 was there. I
Good
think.
point. Yeah, that was
Lightning
Bobby's
100
doing again.
Yeah.
And that food truck was Bobby's doing out of Bellevue. And
Yeah.
Jay Skinner on that one. But that
Another
was
shout
free
out to
food
Bobby
for the
Brody,
golfers.
dude. I remember that was another thing that cemented my place in disc golf was he didn't know me from Adam, and somebody had bought something for me as a gift, and he delivered it.
Oh wow!
Just went out of his way, wasn't requested, and he went and drove by the shipping address and dropped it off in the mailbox himself. It was
just one of those things. It's a small thing, probably a small thing to him, but a huge thing to you.
That's exactly right, and that's why those little personal touches
Sure.
that we do, that's what makes all the difference.
And,
good point.
and going back to what we were just talking about, not just being a tournament. And if you look at Music City, and this year is the exception because of COVID and all that stuff, we're not just a disc golf tournament here. The Music City Open is not just a disc golf tournament. The events that we run are not just disc golf tournaments. They are events that where you come, like the Music City Open being a prime example, where it's a week long of different things you can do in town to enjoy yourself and disc golf at the same time and meet fellow disc golfers. I mean, that's hugely brought on by the guys from the past you don't just put a disc golf tournament. How many times you've gone to a tournament, an A tier or a B tier, and it's, oh, well, this was a cool tournament, but that's it.
Yeah.
This doesn't feel like an A
we're trying
tier.
to grow the sport as well.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it. But when you come here for an A tier, like last year, this year was going to be better, different style. But you come here, it feels like an A tier. It feels professional. It feels, oh, I've got all these events I can do. I got all these things I can do. It's a trip. It's a whole event, and and that is what grows disc golf, I think.
That's why I came to play the MCDG. What was it, last year or the year before at Ravenwood? That was last year.
Yeah, Music City Open last year. Yeah,
I got to play 4 rounds on that.
I still have my poker chip with my tee time on it from the first
from
round.
2014.
And let me tell you, when you showed up and I saw your name, I was like, oh man. I was like, he's gonna be on top of this course.
Well,
you
were at
all
something
over.
else.
I
here.
didn't play very good. On top of that course,
I meant,
I wasn't laying on the grass. I did make all 4 rounds.
Yeah, you did. But I meant, like, I knew that I was going to get to talk to you and find out what you thought. Yeah. And coming from where we did, being the first and, one of the ones that people remember.
Yeah. And what could I have said anything but
yeah, I was just waiting.
It was just
and
amazing.
It was you and Levon who both said, what an amazing course.
Yeah, it was. I was not disappointed by no means. That was amazing design, and it showed a new. I looked at it as, I'm sure Sean Sinclair had a lot to do with that, and got to see a tour mind and the way that it needs to be set up for today's day and age. The discs are getting better, guys. I can remember conversations I had with David Greenwell. And for those of you that don't know him, he's very low number as well. He was telling me stories about when the Whippet X came out. It was your long driver in your bag. So think about that on designing courses and things. Sean Sinclair's got the right idea. You guys are throwing much better plastic. We need to challenge these guys in their arms, and if you don't have that kind of distance, then you're not quite on that level.
Yeah.
So that was a great experience to get to play that course.
Well, and another shout out, we'll give this one to Katrina Allen.
Yeah.
But I remember being really, really appreciative of something I heard her say at Music City Open at Ravenwood, was while everybody was complaining about how much walking and climbing you had to do, I heard her say, I love it. I think it's great. I mean, athletic endurance should be a part of the competition.
That's a good comment. And that's a good golfer giving you that comment. She's played a lot of courses.
There's a lot of other golfers that don't take the athleticism aspect of it seriously
correct.
at all.
Controlled breathing. Being under pressure and making a putt. And people used to say, on the off weeks, some of the tour players would play the C tiers. A lot of them wouldn't. It messes up your ratings and stuff, but it gave you more tournament putts. You can putt as many times as you want in the yard, but when your adrenaline's up or you're in that tournament, you need to make that putt.
Yeah.
And no better way to practice than to play another event. So,
right.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that tributes to what Katrina was talking about. You can throw a disc golf shot when you first step on the tee, but when you step on it, the 70th tee or the 60th tee, and you still have to throw that demanding shot, how much you got left in your tank. And endurance should definitely be a part of every sport, in the pro level. For sure.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking for a well-rounded, even playing field for the top level of competition in your sport.
Sure.
And if we want to call it a sport, then we need to
treat it as such.
We need to, it needs to be treated the exact same.
I mean, look, going to a different example, look at basketball. Look at, and I played this my whole life. When you start out playing basketball, you're using a smaller ball, you're on a smaller floor, you're on a shorter goal. What if we just left it the same? Well, anybody could be a pro. Anybody could do this.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you're saying. You have to evolve it with the players, with the equipment, with everything, and that's been a huge testament. And we caught backlash from it, but when you have somebody like Katrina, who I know is very, very fit, healthy, conscious of her health and her fitness, that's a huge, huge thing. When she's sitting there saying, "This is what we should have."
Definitely needs to be part of your training if you're going to be a pro athlete.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, in any discipline. But, I mean, you think about it, really, when you're talking about it in terms of athleticism, we're right. I mean, there's no difference between traditional golf and disc golf in terms of athleticism. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you could make an argument for that for sure.
I mean, there might be a slight difference in terms of, different muscle groups being targeted for different motions, but it's everything. You look at swinging a baseball bat or a tennis racket or a golf club or anything, it's all the same athletic motion.
Well, Just to ask, what since you've been on tour, because I know you toured, you've won some pretty big tournaments in your day. What's been the biggest evolution of disc golf to you in your eye? Like, what's been the biggest thing that's changed besides, obviously the plastic? What's the biggest difference?
That's probably the biggest change. But you're seeing the holes get much longer, and I think that's the new challenge for the sport. But what exactly are you asking?
Well, just like since your day of touring, because I know you were on tour for a good little while and playing like the handbrake and the bigger
probably 07 to about 2011.
Yeah,
I averaged 30-something events a year.
Yeah, that's a touring player in my opinion, for sure. You're playing 30 events a year, but
I think also the quality of the events, is what's gone up in the sport too, and I think that's something that the MCDG is definitely staying intact with. But I have noticed as I have gone out and got to play a few tournaments, but nothing on that level. But being able to watch it on TV, being able, no matter where you're at, disc golf can be a part of your life. I think that's the biggest change that I see now, between now and back in the day, and definitely the competition level rising. The bar is Paul at what 1061 now.
Yeah.
I mean, so just evolving this to where we thought 1100 would be an ungodly shot round, and now you're seeing these rounds at tournaments right now, and I think that's why
it's kind of the athlete, the person
evolve.
evolving from that weekend warrior to an athlete almost.
Correct. And it's why I still think the next move in disc golf is to make the baskets much smaller. Woo. And that's just because of the guys on tour, if this is what you're doing for a living, you shouldn't. It's hard to imagine an am putter putting on the same basket as a guy who does this for a living.
Sure.
And so for me to watch it evolve to the next level and get some serious interest with big money and to really make the sport legitimate, those sharpshooter targets and that are not that difficult even for us. And when we're in our yard, they'll become very difficult out on the course. And I think that will enable the sport to separate itself from a pro level and an amateur level. And then you could have events that are just designed for that on those baskets.
Absolutely.
I did have a conversation. I'm trying not to peg a lot of names during this show, but the head of Innova in Charlotte, we were out one year working on the USDGC course, and got to pin him aside for a second. We just got to talk really briefly, and I had mentioned I mentioned something about the baskets, and of course his comment was, and remember, this is somebody at Innova, so they sell discs.
Yeah.
That's who's controlling the sport a little bit, is the people selling the discs. But he wants the AM to be able to put on the same target as the pro so they can gauge their level of how good they are or what you have. That was the response to it. Even in bowling, I don't know how many people know, but the pins changed weights over the years. And the surface changed. It was a wood lane, went to synthetic, and then instead of laying the oil down and wiping it off, they raised the machine up and they spray the shot down. So now you have an inconsistent spot. So if y'all are wondering why back in the day the bowlers could play the same line for the whole tournament, it's because it was on a wood lane with a laid oil base. And as they evolved it to a synthetic lane and started to spray the oil, they could develop shots like the Earl Anthony shot or the Dick Weber shot, and that's what you see on the tour. And I brought that up, and his comment was, well, I didn't know the pin weights had changed or anything had changed. But to me, and I'm probably opening up a big old can of worms, but to me, that's the separation, and nobody in the house, any of the amateurs or leagues are not playing on the same shot that's given to the pro bowlers. So I think, and that would be the same as putting, because putting is just about the same as standing 15 in bowling and playing the 10 board, swinging out to the 5 to hit the pocket. Your putt's the same way. You're trying to release the putter as close to your body as you can to obtain a line that's either going to cut into the basket the same way. Barry Schultz, I remember his putting clinic over there that you were talking about, Will. He puts a ring next to his target and literally lifts the putter. If you watch his style of his straddle putt, he lifts the putter into that ring. And you watch that guy just bend poles in half. He hits so many poles.
Yeah.
So it's the same concept with bowling. So I think disc golf needs to go to a smaller target and challenge the pros to continue to play at the level they're playing on.
Boy, we've had that conversation a few times.
Yeah, that's come up on the podcast. I mean, obviously, it was a major topic of conversation over the last couple of years.
Yeah, absolutely.
The pro panels and all that stuff. We're talking about it, and and I'll be completely honest. Like I'm not innately opposed to the idea of changing the targets, but what I am hesitant of in committing to that is, like, if we're talking about changing the standard of targets, we should really understand that we have no standard currently, you know? And I think the PDGA has been taking some measures to try to collect some data based on what targets are being used at what events during certain tiered events. But that's the thing is, like, I think the only real way to make a decision on whether or not the targets actually need to change in specification is by collecting a large sample of data on one set of targets and then collecting another large sample of data on another set of targets. So that might involve having one tour that plays on only disc catchers, one tour that plays on only T1s, one tour that plays on only veterans, or something along those lines. But I think until we have some really reliable and verifiable data on what is actually being, like, caught versus rejected, because we have so many different designs. We have
a lot.
You know what I mean? Like, the basket designs vary so much between what is, like, the top of the line basket for each company. So, you know, you got, like, disc catchers and veterans are very, very similar. Prodigies are, like, more like a Mach X or an Arroyo basket.
So what about Europe? I mean, across these same side buses?
I mean, they're using even more. A lot of times I'm seeing in Europe now, you're seeing the Latitude 64 Pro baskets, which, when those were first released, they had multiple issues with them. Yep. I mean, the way that it was a really cool, like, dynamic way to arrange the wiring in the bottom of the cage, but the way it was arranged allowed for a disc coming down at the right angle to fall right through the bottom of the cage. And on top of that, I discovered an issue at the 2018 GBO while I was playing at Jones West in my second round, because we were playing to the first run of those Latitude 64 Pro baskets. Yeah. And there was a little divot in the center of the cage. Like, the wiring coming from the outer edge of the cage dipped down to meet the pole right at the very center. So you had about an inch and a half gap like this, where there was just open space between the cage and the pole. And I felt like I was on target with my putts, and they were going in and hitting and coming right back out. Yeah. And so that's my thing, is I think, like, if we're going to really entertain the idea of changing what the standard of targets is, then we should really analyze the fact that we have no standard. I mean,
and here, let me hit something else with you there, because that's a good point, and that's a great point. And I think gathering the data and things, but we can just change the format of how we're speaking on it. And let's look at it this way. You're asking to make the sport, how are we going to take it to the next level? Sean Sinclair doing Ravenwood the way he did and taking the distance, where eventually, guys, we're going to run out of room. And then the second thing is, now we got to have more room to put a course on. Now we're more limited where we can put our courses. Yeah. But here's something else to think about. When you take a field of the pros and you take it all along that way, now you got 10 people battling for first place, and then you got 48 of them battling for the rest of the places, in my opinion.
Sure.
If you shrink the basket, you have now included everybody on the tour.
And that's a very...
And to me, winning disc golf is to finish the hole. Yeah. I mean, we had kids when they, once again, I'm not going to drop a bunch of names, but Kansas City wide open, places like that, where the introductory, some of the young kids around this area, and could throw the disc 560 feet and put it within 30 and then dink the putt.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the idea of this sport, if you want to go to a new level or you want to take it to a new challenge and you want to include the field, I want to see 30 people battling for the top 10 spots. I don't want to know who's going to win before it starts. Sure. I feel like if you shrink the basket, you're going to start including more of the field, because you have people out there that are way more technically sound or professional or just a better technical type player, than just a long arm.
Yeah.
So why not include everybody? If you're touring and you're playing and you could throw 400 feet, you shouldn't fall short to the field just because they can throw it further. And it goes back to ball golf. You can hit the ball as far as you want. You still have to make the next shot and the next shot. You're not going to gain a separate set of distance by hitting it any farther. Yeah. In my opinion, you still have to put the ball in the cup. So I think, to me, that's what makes me want smaller targets.
I mean, I'm on your side with that, and I know that we've had that debate back and forth. But to me, I mean, when you're looking at our putts, 10 feet to a professional disc golfer is a lay-in. It's nothing. 10 feet to a professional ball golfer, that's a putt.
Right, but we're not. You can't
And
really
if you-
compare ball
well, you
golf
can't
to disc
compare it,
golf, in my opinion.
But if you strike
Well,
that
and those
basket,
comparisons
it-
get spread really thin.
Sure,
the more that disc golf evolves, because
Absolutely.
golf has been around for a long time, and
But how many more people are going to think about a 10, 15-foot putt on a smaller basket? I mean, that's going to be a
Right.
bigger thought process. So
Well,
it's
and
not
not
going
only
to
that,
compare
yeah,
it, but it's
that's
going to
right.
make it more of a putt.
It's
Yeah.
more of an intense where you're putting under pressure. You know, I know people have practiced that way by putting with restricted breathing, things like that. I know Paul Macbeth was big about that, wearing a mask to putt, and to have putts under pressure when you don't have maximum oxygen and you don't feel as strong as you do on a regular putt. You know, that's the pressure putt. So if you can't get out to putt a tournament, you can restrict your breathing to enhance. I know I used to sit in the yard and I would say, all right, I'd have one putter left, you know, and I'd be 50 feet out, and this is for the win at the USDGC, and you plant your foot and you lock it in, and you take as long as you can to try to build as much nerves as you can and then make the putt. So that's how I did it. But once again, I didn't have much success, but the success that I had was due to putting myself under pressure while making putts. And to me, that means if we can all shorten the course and include everybody to increase the difficulty of the sport, or to legitimize the sport into a level where everybody feels that it's very difficult to play in a short range, to me that's where I get my opinion from, and it's just an opinion.
yeah. Well, let's take a minute, because we're at right about where it's 8:01. And we're just over an hour into the show, and we're having a little bit of a connection issue to the live stream. So we'll take a quick break. I'm going to let you answer your phone call, and we'll come right back to it here in just a minute after everybody's had a chance to go to the bathroom and stuff.
Thank you,
You
guys.
guys stay tuned. After these messages, we'll be right back.
Nailed it.
So yeah, your position on leveling the playing field.
Correct.
You know, by making a smaller target, the playing
Would
field
include more of your competitive players, in my opinion. It's just an opinion.
Yeah,
way.
well, no, I mean, you know, obviously,
That's all it is right now for anybody.
Yeah.
there's a lot of people that just can't keep up with the top 20, 30% of the
With
pro
the
field.
distance, right.
The super pros.
Yeah, we were-
was
yeah.
as
Did I
Mark,
coin
what,
that
what
phrase?
Marcus called it. Yeah,
I think you
Yeah,
did.
that's a good way to call
Point in
it.
the bank.
The Super Pro.
yeah. So
Super pros. I'm sorry.
yeah, I mean, you can see them at the events where they're present. There's a huge score separation between the top of the line touring pros and all the other pros. So my concern would be, you know, we talked a little bit about like coming up with the standard and collecting some data, and starting from one type of basket was my previous argument. GarageBand is not agreeing with us tonight. That's our monitoring. That's what we're using right now. So I'm going to just turn it off.
Boom shakalaka.
Yeah. So, my thing, there was an article, and I can't remember where it came from. It might have been Ultiworld. It might have been another media outlet. But their point was that, whoever wrote the argument, their side of things was that the desire to change the target or the size of the target was part of being motivated by like a desire to increase the drama of the green for disc golf. Mm-hmm. Because when you watch traditional golf, ball golf, the green is super dramatic. You've got all these undulating hills, but the argument was that you're not going to create more drama on the green because it's an airborne projectile. It's not affected by every little crack and crevice in the ground and every rise and fall
good point.
and all that. So that the argument was that, you know, the drama in disc golf, and this is a separator between disc golf and traditional golf, is that the drama is on the tee shot. The drama is the drive. So you get to see that full flight of a disc. And that's also been used as an argument in like wooded versus open courses.
Correct.
So
Good point. Yeah.
Well, can
Just
I drop
something
in a,
to raise for
Can I drop in a
conversation.
third argument?
Yeah,
It
yeah.
might be a null argument, but we're about to take a step forward in this. But actual broadcast coverage, actual real coverage. Sure, we're getting massively bigger views, massively bigger hits as far as coverage nowadays than we did 10 years ago, simply because of quality of coverage. But now we're going to have CBS?
Yes,
Wild World of
CBS.
Sports is about to hop all over the Dynamic Disc Open. That in itself could be an argument, like, as to why we're not already there, or to why we could be there here. I mean, like, it remains to be seen. CBS Wild World of Sports, that's a huge thing that's about to cover us.
Yes.
And I realized that, like, let's not kid anybody, there's a huge amount of lacking in that department.
Yeah.
Straight up. And so I'm anxious to see if that will actually push this somewhere. And I realize that we're probably pretty lucky because they've been showing all sorts of different sports right now because of lack of sports.
Correct.
So I'll take it where we can get it and say, hey, it's about time. And hope that maybe gives us a big shove in the right direction. And then maybe we go from there with a broader audience who doesn't know disc golf, regardless of distance of holes or people who can throw far or basket size. Maybe that still gives us the shove into that mainstream.
Good point.
Throwing that out there.
Definitely a great positive, and that's the thing we got to touch on when we talk about disc golf is to keep it on the positive side. The people feed off of the what they hear from others and things like that, and bringing up positive points. But that's great to hear. I didn't know. I wasn't aware of that. So
I believe it is
that
post
will
production.
definitely help for sure.
Obviously, but I'm assuming it'll be Chomez post production that they'll use.
Well, for the CBS coverage,
Yeah.
no, Jomez was the producer of
Okay.
all the content.
Wow,
So
that's awesome.
they hired 20 more employees and additional editors.
Okay.
So they had a 20-man camera crew.
Wow.
For the DDO.
Wow.
Yep. And they are required to deliver it by the end of July. So the coverage will be airing now. And this is a common misconception: is that everybody hears CBS and they think they'll turn on Channel 5 and see disc golf.
Exactly.
And that's not the case. This is the CBS Sports Network. So this will be a cable access. So if you have cable, you have the CBS Sports Network.
Correct.
Most base packages have CBS Sports. But it'll air in 1-hour segments. So there is a total of 4 hours of content that will air in 4 segments, 4 1-hour segments.
Do we know if those segments will be back to back or like?
We don't have a lot of details on exactly when they're going to air, but Rusco has been assured that it won't be early morning or late at night.
So some actual prime
Some prime time.
TV real estate, if you will, or prime-ish, yeah.
Apparently, the indication is that it will be a weekend afternoon type scenario.
That's not
That's
exactly
awesome.
horrible.
No, it's great.
I mean,
That's great because people
Yeah.
are sitting at home anyway.
Now,
hopefully it's rainy and really nasty outside that
Well,
day.
thanks.
the
All
other
over the
consideration
United
there
States.
too is people are saying, this coverage being our first real mainstream media outlet
Attention.
in a long time is going to be not necessarily representative of what we have to offer because of the fact that there were no spectators. There was no galleries. It's
That's
just,
sure.
you know what I mean? But you're thinking about, I think a lot of people are thinking about it from terms of coverage of events where there's 1,000-person gallery and the media providers specifically frame the entire gallery. Like a big part of the
Correct.
direction of the media content is the fact that there's a gigantic gallery. So I think really you could make the argument that the coverage will be better because it'll be more focused on the actual play and not the spectacle of it.
Wow, good point. Yeah, for
So-
sure. And the idea that we're just archiving more disc golf on film and getting it out to more people everywhere, I think is the positive input for it. And especially on that level. I mean, where all of us, Marcus brought it up, we're home in the afternoons and we're looking for something to do. That'd be a great thing to show up on my TV. I can tell you that right now.
Well, what's cool is how many people are gonna like be just flipping through channels, and I've done it with like handball. You guys ever heard of handball?
Oh,
It's
yeah.
an Olympic sport. That's just where I watched it. It was like one of the Summer Olympics, but I'd never heard of it, and it looked cool. I was pretty blown away by it.
Yeah, it was
had
fun.
no idea about it. But you're just flipping through, and you're like, "Oh, what's this? These guys have got dit." And then before you know it, they're like, "Oh, well, I've heard. Wait a second, I've seen that, and I've seen that little device out in the back park over here."
You know, it's just like me when I was growing up. You know, I grew up in the same town as Shoestreak, and across the street from my grandmother's house,
Yeah.
there was a disc golf course. I never knew
Sure.
what it was. Had no clue. And I came to Nashville and I played Seven Oaks and I met Dan and I met, Josh, I met Jake, I met Rodney, and I met all these people. And I'm like, wow, this is amazing. And I get online. I'm like, okay, where are all the disc golf courses at? And I look home and I say, there's
across
one right across the street from my grandmother's house. Morningside Park. There's literally, from my grandmother's front porch, you can see basket. I think it's like number 8 or something. It's up on the hill.
That's crazy.
I could literally throw a flick shot with any disc and get to that basket. And I'm just like, wow. I could have literally been playing this sport for over 25 years now.
Marcus could have been throwing drives out of his grandma's backyard, getting a 5 on the first hole and didn't even know it. But great point, Marcus. And we used to say it back in the day as well. It's just getting it out there. The more that we can offer the information and what those targets are for when you drive by a park, as Jay brought up, what did you call them, devices or something?
Well, devices, whatever they are.
Yeah, correct. I mean, but identify them and knowing what they are. There's some old stories out at Bronze Springs is one of the first courses put in down in Alabama. I can't give you the facts on that stuff. LaVon could do better, but I remember the first time.
Well, it's not only one of the first courses in Alabama; it's one of the first courses in the world.
History.
I think Bronze Springs and Oak Grove. Have the record for the first course in one. Like one is the first permanent course, one is the first something other. But Bronze Springs was one of the first disc golf courses with targets.
Wow, it was
ever was made. Yeah,
and hats off to the guys in down in Alabama using that course so much. I remember back in the day we would get that course in a lot of tournaments, even though it wasn't one of the greatest. It is one of the greatest disc golf courses. It's kind of like set up like a Horton format where you can see all the holes, all the people.
It reminds me a lot of Horton.
Yeah, a lot of fun. You can put we put 90 people, 100 people right there in that and on that course, and you're watching everybody throw shots, and you basically can hit every target out there, except for like hole 1 and 3 or something like that. There's a couple of them that are difficult, but but anyway, the story I was leading up to, I remember my first time there, my trip there. I had a couple first as well. You guys all talking about first. One was we had to move the homeless people off of hole 2 so we could throw our second drive. And then the other thing was a story, and I'm trying to remember who told me the story, and I can't recall. I'm getting old. But one of the stories they told us was they showed up to the park at Bronze Springs, and this is a true story, and they had aluminum foil in the basket, and the chicken was hanging from the chains with little hooks on them. So... Marcus, your point, not only did you not know what it was, other people decided what it was.
Yeah,
so
sure.
Devices, Jay, was a good thing to call those things.
I try to look at it from like somebody who's never seen
pretty
it
expensive
before.
barbecue grill, but
very expensive. But just from the outlook of somebody who's never seen the sport. Correct. Like
no
for
idea
instance,
what it's for.
My mom, her first ever thought when she saw one, and this was back in Arkansas even, she thought it was a deer feeder. And like I know Rodney calls them deer feeders all the time, but it's funny that somebody who's never seen it, that's what they associate with it.
Yeah. And I always thought having the yellow bands and stuff like that, I always thought, why didn't they have a guy on the band putting a disc or something where if somebody walked up to the basket, they could actually figure out what it was for, Well,
if you walk up to the park and there's nobody playing, you literally are like,
what is that?
What do you do with this? Like, why is this here?
Good point.
Like, what
Is this a good moment for the tip of the week? The
tip of
the week.
We'll work on that. We'll get better with that. Sorry about that.
We need to have something that's set on that. That's a
pre-record it.
Pretty good thing.
Drop it in for us, Will.
Yeah. So tip of the week. So we've been doing this the last couple episodes. This is Marcus Rogers' idea, which I usually tend to just go with because they're usually good.
Yeah. I mean, after all, this is his studio.
Sapphire Lounge. Come on down.
Yeah.
So, tip of the week. What do you have for us, Dan?
Oh, no, that's an on-the-spotter.
Yeah, I know. Right? That's how it happens.
Wow.
It doesn't have to be, form. It can be like showing up to a disc golf tournament. It can be
anything.
It can be stretching.
Philosophical. It could be a
I would just say,
lesson. It could
I'll
be,
just refer to something that was a big part of my career, and maybe showing up to tournaments and things and being standoffish or unapproachable or you'll probably see this with obviously I wasn't nowhere near a top touring pro of any kind, but I tried to carry myself that way. Maybe a little overconfident. If you don't think you're the best, you're not going to be the best. If you show up to a course and you're going to meet 3 other people that you haven't seen in 3 months, then you're not showing up to win. So I might have seemed standoffish or all those things, but it was part of my focus. It's what helped me do what I came to do at a tournament. So my tip to you is, what do you want out of your game today? Are you showing up at Seven Oaks to hang out with your friends, or are you showing up to a tournament to win? And a lot of people show up to tournaments to see somebody they haven't seen. Myself, I've signed up for tournaments that somebody else had signed up for. How many people have got online and decided what tournaments they're going to play or whatever, and they sign up because of who's signed up? Half the time, you're not going to win that tournament. I never did. But when I loaded up the car and headed somewhere and decided I was going to get a berth to the USDGC or something, I didn't spend much time talking to anybody. I just showed up at the course, put it on the baskets. So the tip of the week, I guess, would be from me, would be what do you want out of your game today?
I love that.
And then what have you put into it to meet your expectations? Thanks, Marcus.
No problem. Golf snaps.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
That was great. Yeah, golf snaps for show. For show.
I'll leave it at that. I don't think we needed to talk about it.
Mic drop.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
No, I mean, aren't you supposed to say something? I mean, I don't get nothing back.
What do you, I mean,
How do you
that's
follow
exactly right. How many?
Well, I mean,
There's not-
how seriously are you taking it? Because I think the lead in there is a lot of disc golfers will get really frustrated and not be hitting the lines they think they're capable of hitting, have emotional reactions, act in a somewhat maybe borderline unsportsmanlike way, but it's like, are you preparing yourself for the expectations that you're setting on yourself? And I think that's
Good way to say it.
I think that's the underlying
Did you
point
show up
there.
2 minutes before the round?
Yeah, you're behaving as though you expected to shoot lights out, but what did you do to prepare yourself to shoot lights out?
Correct.
And this is an interesting segue too, because this is something that came up a couple times this weekend, just in conversations with players at one of our events. By the way, we had a couple events that were pretty cool.
Yeah, this past weekend, in case you didn't know.
Yeah, let's see here. I got tourney picks. Let's go. Boom. There's my card. Me and Mike and Lawrence and Joe. And there's the I Smell Hippies tank top that Mike wore, which was pretty funny. And there's my t-shirt.
Boom.
Meowika. And there's Alan and Rodney. And the Alan Posers.
Yeah.
Nice.
Zach Jackson, Jeff Lorenz.
Yep.
Shout
and then
out.
we were at Shelby yesterday for the bag tag, and it was really hot. But there was our young friend Knox set up a lemonade stand between holes 5 and 6.
Nice.
And took care of our players, kept them hydrated. So, but one thing that came up this weekend was, what were we just talking about?
Oh, just tip
Tip of the week.
Mindset and what did you come here for?
Meeting
basically?
your expectations of
Yeah.
what you're showing up to do.
Like what? Yeah, exactly. Why are you here? Are you here to hang out with your friends? And before you get into what you're
And I was
say,
the person that showed up 2 minutes late. I put that
Yeah,
in
I
myself.
remember.
Yeah, okay.
It happens.
All right.
Traffic on a Sunday in Nashville, you know.
Yeah.
There's no right or wrong answer. Disc golf is different things to different people.
Exactly.
But like you were
And
saying,
it should
what
always
Dan
be that.
said,
It should always be
Yeah,
different.
definitely.
it's like
it
what
should
are
be
you
whatever you need it to
expecting?
be.
And what
If
did
you're
you do
expecting
anything to
a
get
lot,
that?
then you should have put a lot into it
The
to
effort.
meet those expectations.
It's funny because, not to, obviously phenomenon and things like that are supposed to happen mathematically, and I'm a big fan of mathematics, but the conversation that it brings up is I DNF Sunday at the bag tag, and I don't know if a lot of people realize that. And not only did I do that, I left a twosome out there. I mean, I'll just be straight up real. I going into it, I was just done. I was tired of throwing bad shot after bad shot and expecting better, even though I have not put any work into being any better recently for whatever reasons.
Yeah.
Tons of different reasons.
Could be any reason.
But
Yeah.
the fact of the matter, my mindset wasn't in the right place. Will promptly reminded me of that, as he should, and I took it the wrong way. And it was one of those things that if my mindset had just been in the right place to begin with, it wouldn't have happened. And my mindset was just I was done. I wasn't thinking. And he reminded me, hey, you can't leave a twosome out there. And lo and behold, that's exactly what I did. And it was just simply because my mindset wasn't in the right spot.
Yeah.
Because it was so depleted from expecting something that should have never been expected.
Yeah.
And I'll leave it at that.
Or you could have just stopped playing and walked with them.
Sure. And you're exactly right.
And that's the thing is like, and this is a good point to make is that
Yeah, and you can use me as an
everybody,
example. That's fine.
no, and I applaud you for bringing it up
Yeah.
because
Well,
I
it was a
wasn't going
mistake,
to.
And I
I wasn't-
admit where I'm
awesome.
wrong.
But no, I mean, like this is I had a conversation with Anthony Sinclair about teaching.
I remember,
moments,
yeah.
where, Anthony feels like he gets in his head so much about it and gets emotional about his game that he doesn't feel qualified to help newer players with their emotional or mental game.
Wow. Sure.
And I told him, I said, look, there's two things you need to consider here. One, the best teacher of any given subject is somebody that struggles with that subject.
Absolutely.
Because not only, it doesn't matter how well you know the nuts and bolts, it's if you have a firsthand understanding of why it's not easy for everybody, that makes you more qualified to teach somebody that else than anybody else.
Yeah,
and then
point.
On the other side of that, if you are helping somebody overcome something that you're struggling with yourself, you're going to make progress by proxy that you're not even going to be
Absolutely.
actively
Totally
cultivating. So it's each one teach one, right? And I applaud you for bringing it up because this is, like I said, this is a good point to point out. Like, dude, we all have weak moments.
Sure.
All of us. I made mistakes this very weekend at our events, and I did my best to understand exactly what it was that happened and make it right to everybody that was affected by it. But I also told those people, look, I'm never going to stop making mistakes. I'm never going to be perfect. But I also promise you that I'm never going to stop owning those mistakes and trying to make up for them.
That's all it comes down to.
And so what you're segueing into, or what I want to use what you just
By all means, yeah.
highlighted to segue into, is that in all of this, and I and this goes into part of our operational philosophy of trying to instill a sense of ownership and responsibility of and over the club in the members of the club, where everybody feels like they're a part of something bigger than themselves. We don't sell bag tags. You can join the club and you get a bag tag.
Yeah.
That's an important distinction, and it seems trivial and menial, but we want to know who you are. We want you to be a part of our family. We don't want to just sell you a piece of plastic and be able to put you as a number on a list to show how well we're doing.
Yeah.
Like this is a family, and there is a certain amount of responsibility for the quality of what we're doing that is on our shoulders.
Sure.
As the staff, as the administrators, as the TDs, as the board of directors of the club. But there's also an equal amount of responsibility that falls on the shoulders of the players and the members of the club. And I think that this is something that a lot of people are not aware of or don't take into consideration. And we're at a place right now where we have a ton of new people playing disc golf.
Yeah.
And they're looking to get plugged in, and we just had to order new bag tags.
Which
we
is
haven't
a
had to do
first.
that this early in the year
That's
ever.
great.
30% of the field at every event that we've had since we came back from the shutdown has been first-time tournament players.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, we're getting 50, 60 people at the Wednesday night tag round. Like, this is a great time for disc golf because people are looking for something that
Outside.
that we have to offer. But it's it's one of those times they're paying attention. They're soaking up all the content they can possibly get, and let's show them, hey, if you play 3 rounds a week, take one day to go out to a course and do a little weed eating or pick up trash, or you know what I mean? Do something, incorporate something into your routine that gives back to the community.
Sure.
Second, understand that you're a part of something bigger than yourself, and understand the responsibility that you have in making sure that everything stays high quality. Because I can only take you so far. I can cross all my T's and dot all my I's, and then as soon as you start your round, you and your group are in charge of exactly how it turns out. From everything from disputes about rulings to the final score that's turned in. And I think more people that play disc golf that are members of clubs and players in tournaments need to have a better understanding of their level of responsibility, or the level of responsibility that falls on them to make sure that this all goes well. Because I mean, like, you can ruin stuff by either taking it too seriously or not following the rules. And one person doesn't follow the rules, and it affects everybody. Yeah. That's why there's rules, is to keep everybody on equal playing ground, is keep everybody on level ground. So
Absolutely.
that's my
Man,
soapbox.
well said,
I'll
Will.
jump off it.
And that's why you guys' club is as successful as it is. Communication is the key, and remembering that each of us are equally in the same amount of mistakes as the next person, as well as equally each of us are good at certain things and other things. So,
Absolutely.
but the idea is just networking, having so many people on the same page, trying to impress or impose and do things the same way, and it becomes consistent. And consistent is professional, and that takes it to the next level and makes other people want to be a part of that organization. Not the fact if somebody walks off a tee or not, but something that a man like this can step up here and talk about it so that somebody else doesn't make the same mistake. I commend you for that, Jay. Thank you.
Well, I mean, I appreciate that very much. It was, and Will and I talked about it, and Dr. Hoy and I talked about it, because those were the two people that immediately was affected, basically. And it was one of those things where I was
let me own my part in
and
it. I had an
was-
emotional reaction, and I got a little confrontational with you about it. And we talked later. Obviously, you and I are always going to be brothers.
Well, yeah.
And so it's water under the bridge or over the dam or wherever you want it. But in that moment, I had a moment of weakness too, because I had I reacted emotionally to it. I made a wise decision to just walk away for a minute before
Sure.
I tried to talk to you about it, and we got to have
A
friendly
conversation.
conversation about it later. That's how it should be handled.
Absolutely.
Don't flame people on Facebook. Don't go making these wild
Well, it's like-
inflammatory Facebook posts and trying to air it out. It's not up to everybody to decide how some random dispute is.
Well, when
settled.
you, it's perception, and like what Dan was saying, the professionalism of the tournament, and what you walk up to and you see, that's your perception of what's going to happen. And I learned something in a sales class one time, and it was comparing clean airplanes. Like when you walk onto an airplane and you see the tray in your seat that's broken and it's all down, or you see a dirty plane, what's the number one thing people associate with that? Most people got the answer wrong, but it was safety. Because if you have a dirty plane and a broken, tray all the time, what else are you not paying
Right.
attention to?
Yep.
So if they walk up and see something like that, they're going to automatically assume that maybe some of the other bolts and nuts somewhere else are a little bit loose.
And that was the point that I was trying to make with
Exactly,
you.
and that was that
And
was
good
roundabout
point.
what I was
Because
getting
you
to.
had 4 holes, 5 holes left in your round, and
But it's for the
not
perception.
that big of a deal. It's not sanctioned, and I got where you were coming from, but at the same time, it's like
the perception.
you're
of it.
in
And
leadership.
You're,
You're held to
Still
a higher
format.
standard.
People are still
looking
watching.
to you for
Absolutely.
leadership,
And it was that lack of professionalism that he used to.
And if we make a big deal about whether or not we let somebody into the event because whether or not we have room on a card, or if they're going to
Absolutely.
be a 2 or a 3 or a 4 or whatever, if we're making that a point of our negotiation for
You're right.
for the players, we need to hold ourselves to the same standard.
Absolutely.
And then that was it. But like at the same time, it's valid to say, because one point you said was like, yeah, I know I'm in leadership, but am I not allowed to get sick or be hurt or just like not feel like I should? And like, yes, absolutely. Anybody, whether you're in leadership or you're on the team or you're just a rec player and you don't know any of us personally, at any time, if you feel like your health is at risk, stop playing.
Sure.
Like, do not try to continue out of a sense that you're obligated to some kind of fabricated sense of sportsmanship or something. Please always take care of your health first, but let somebody know.
Take care of it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like don't walk away from your card without letting one of the other players know.
and
Especially
don't do it when you only have 3 people on your card.
right.
Just so you know.
Or I mean,
Because
no,
that's a bad no-no.
Still do it if you need to
Yeah.
quit your round and you're
Just
in a
let them
threesome.
know so they can split.
Just let somebody know so that we can have somebody else walk with your card, and it's
Sure.
just for just to be able to verify the scores,
Sure.
so that everybody doesn't have any questions about whether or not everything was fairly and legitimately recorded, and that's all it is.
Absolutely, and I, like you were saying, I think that the professionalism and that part of it on my part was lax, but overall, and then what I was kind of getting to by bringing that whole thing up was that, yeah, you had an emotional reaction to it, but how many? I mean, like, you don't, as a regular club member or somebody from the outside, you don't see that. You don't see the
Sure.
arguments that we've had well before.
Well,
yesterday.
a couple people did.
Yeah, or yesterday, like, how often do me and you not argue but debate back and forth? Like, we disagree on something all the time, don't we?
All the time.
Yeah. But that professionalism, like,
Well, we were just
shines through
me and Dan
90% of the time.
Yeah, and me and Dan were just talking about on the break. I don't necessarily agree that shrinking the baskets is the answer to the problem. But I'm not opposed to that being the answer to the problem if we can all come
If that's
to
what
it.
it is.
I
Yeah.
think that's the bottom line. None of us know the answer. If we did, we'd already be on ESPN. The idea is to get a bunch of opinions in the same direction and try to hear each other. Something I didn't do a lot of was listen throughout my career, as I spoke on in the tip of the week. And then the other is due to my personality. But I've seen myself create the same atmosphere. I wasn't around and just heard this whole thing, and it sounds like y'all closed it good. We'll move on from it now, but just gained a lot out of that.
Well, the reason why the purpose of it was to bring up was that as a leader or as a board member,
Sure.
I'm not perfect, and that I make mistakes, and then that
Sure.
we can still maintain a professionalism. Even if I'm wrong and Will was right or whatever it may have been, that professionalism overall still shines through, and that's where you get into what did you get out of it?
Right.
What did
And
you
I
come
think-
here for? I came here to be a part of doing my job, like as a board member, and to run the event, but I didn't come there in the right mindset to play, and that showed.
Yep.
But the professionalism overall was handled and shined through, and that was kind of more so the point. Was
And
just
let's
that
be
no
clear
matter
about what we did
happens-
and what we didn't do.
Sure.
What we didn't do was stand in the middle of 30 people
And
and
scream
scream and
and
cuss
yell.
at each other and call each other names.
Yeah.
What we didn't
You're a
do
lint licker,
is
by the
walk
way.
away and talk to anybody who would listen about what just happened and why we felt
Yeah, there was
offended.
still a lot of good.
What we didn't do is we didn't jump on Facebook and light somebody on fire.
Sure.
What we did do is we took a little bit of time and separated ourselves and settled down. And then about an hour after everything was said and done, we talked on the phone
Yeah, it's all good.
and we recognized that, dude, we're brothers. We're family.
sure.
This is bigger than that. Like, check your ego. Like, that is the
Yeah.
biggest thing, man, is like, and I talk about this a lot on the podcast, but it's like, I look at everybody as pieces on a chessboard. And if your ego is more important than working in a common direction, you get knocked
Sure.
off the board. Like, that's just the way it is. You have to be committed to the greater good.
But
That's right. That's the bottom
Getting back to
line.
the
But
point.
just, I think the only thing I would bring up is, and something I could have used better in my career too, was attitude is a choice. And it sounds
Absolutely.
like there was some attitude. So just make your
Absolutely there
choices
was.
to keep them all. I think Will touched on it there during y'all's conversation back and forth, and
Yeah, sorry
just
to
making
derail
sure that
that.
you're
Yeah,
keeping
it was a
everything
good-
into play, and mostly as us when we get in heated and passionate times. I know I run some events, and toward the end, you're totally drained.
Oh.
I felt like I was just on the lead card at
Sure.
the Worlds, and you're mentally drained. It's hard to take things in. You were just in a position where it was hard to take things in, but attitude is a choice, guys. I think that's the main thing.
Yeah, I cry at the end of every Music City Open. I sit down in the parking lot and cry like a little girl.
at the end of the
It
Music
can
City
drain
Open,
you
most
because,
people need a good cry.
You
after the end of that.
wouldn't be running these events and doing all this if you didn't have a great passion for what you're doing. So, and when we have a passion for something, you know how we are, how humans are
Absolutely.
in general, is we put a lot of effort into something we care about and very little into things that we don't. So it's easy to see disc golfers stand in each other's face and give each other ideas and opinions because you're looking at the outside of another person's attitude. But remembering that we're all there for the same reasons, Jay, I have no doubt your heart is always in the right
Well, I appreciate
place.
it.
So.
I appreciate
And I
that.
think that's the bottom line, is just remember, if you see something, a discussion or something between tournament officials or other things, just try to remember the amount of passion that's involved in what each person's doing for you guys to play in an event. And when they make a mistake, maybe find something positive to pick it up instead of focusing on the negatives. That's what I got out of all that. Thanks,
Amen.
guys, for sharing.
No, thank you
Appreciate
for, and I mean that
I just
perspective.
summed it up,
No,
that's all.
yeah, but
Well, think
beautiful,
about it like
beautiful.
this too, and it's a universal concept that can be applied in any relationship, because Jay and I have known each other for years, and we disagree often, so we have a routine. You and I don't know each other incredibly well. Like, we're connected in very intimate ways, but like we're not like personally like familiar with each other.
Right.
But you and I get in the same space, and we have a connection because our souls, our spirits, see each other. And like, I know that you're coming from a solid place where you're passionate and you care about this game and the people that play it as much as I do. And that's enough common ground for us to have a disagreement on anything.
Correct. And I also know the amount of people, if I can feel my passion and what I put into the few events I've ran and the level I've ran them, I can't even imagine people like, let me name drop Stan McDaniel, you know, people that's put in 50 courses in their lifetime or whatever. Rennie Gold, some of the greatest courses that are rated in top 10 in the world that these people have put in, and the passion that they have for this sport. I would like to see this sport go to the next level before I die. And I wonder,
Absolutely.
a lot of people do, but, and then the name I brought up, Stan McDaniel, is a mule. This guy just wants more disc
Wheel
golf
dog.
courses, good disc golf courses. He's not as much on the competitive end as he is. He wants everybody in their family and their mother and their daughter and everybody playing disc golf. You know, that's the idea. So once again, it's like my tip of the week, showing up to a tournament. What are your expectations? And then apply the amount of effort it takes to achieve those expectations. And don't be afraid to let yourself down. You're as human as the rest of us. So
Absolutely.
That's the best way to
Beautifully
look at that.
summarized, I think.
Yeah.
This is why we have this guy.
Well, and
why we
this
had
is
him
why I'm gonna. And you know, we've kind of taken this exceptionally casually this evening. So if at any point, if you need to leave, if you're on any kind of a schedule, let me know.
I took an extra day off work, so I don't have to be back till tomorrow night. So
Well, I
we're
do
good.
have to work tomorrow.
Yeah, I
but,
do too.
But I'm really into this right now, and I want to know from you. I want to hear your thoughts, because for me, it was the decision to invest myself in administration rather than competition was very logical. By the time I found disc golf, I was already old and fat, and it was like, you know, but I knew that based on my prior experience and my background that and looking at this community that I loved and where it was at and what it could be, and seeing a line between the two places, it was like, this is a worthwhile place for me to apply myself. You know what I mean? It was a natural thing that came upon me, and I accidentally ended up running a trilogy challenge in 2014 or 2015, and it was the first time since the first time I threw a disc and it flew the way I meant for it to, that I felt that same euphoria,
Nice.
that same, where it was like I could sit back and I could watch 25 people playing disc golf, having a great time, smiles on their faces, because you allowed it to happen.
You were a part of that.
You had arranged it, and that reward is just sublime.
Correct. And I think rewards, that's something to talk about. Everything that we do, we look for something. And
Absolutely.
sometimes it's just instant gratification.
Yeah.
And I think when you, if you run an event, as I'm doing at Lake Lure, driving 2 hours every Saturday and Sunday to cut down trees and form fairways, and you're doing all this and you only think about it's to be ridiculed or talked about or what you're doing, you'll stop doing it. The whole idea is that that's what we want. You know, I got to play for 5 or 6 years in tour. I was so fortunate. I did not thank enough people along the way. This is my thank you, you know, is spending the time on these courses, and the gratification is getting people to show up and play and enjoy your event. I spent 6 months last year getting that Lake Lure started, but it was more fulfilling after the tournament and everybody talking about what a great time they had. But I think it's just a matter of applying a lot of effort to things that we have a passion for. That's wonderful what you're doing, Will, in that sense. And there's nothing more satisfying than running an event and seeing 3 new people show up or whatever it is that turns you on. But
Absolutely.
your time and your efforts that you took away from what you were doing, these are sacrifices. For the people that don't know what it takes to run tournaments, it's a lot of hard work. And you put up with a lot of comments from people who are not as satisfied as others.
Sure.
I myself have not been satisfied at events as well. So it can take a toll on you. And then eventually those people get out of it and they're no longer running events because of the pressure from it. That's the other side of it. So
Yeah.
it takes a lot, and someone like yourself putting all this into it, that reward that you're talking about, it's worth your time, you know, and it makes you come back and do it again. And to watch how you guys have grown this area and to show up around here and see the amount of golf, there's no doubt in my mind, and I can see it in this room, the passion that's here. And this is what it's all about, you know, and taking it to the next level. And you just have to listen. What I've learned is I need to listen to the people who are complaining, because we got to make it better for them so that it's better for everybody.
Absolutely.
So
it's
we need
a
a
good
little bit
outlet.
of that.
But-
We need to be beat up. But
This is another thing that I always try to bring up, and the same reason, like the reason you're on the show, the reason we had Ken Folger and Steve Hardy and Dave Griffin on the show is because, like, I have the understanding and the drive and the vision for this that I do because of people like you. Because you did what
100%.
you did.
Yeah, and I didn't. You put me in a class with a bunch of guys that Dave
Well,
Griffith,
no,
Steve Hardy,
it doesn't-
Greg Farmfresh,
this
all those
is-
guys. They did way more than I
Well,
did
it
for
doesn't.
this sport. But
However you quantify it, it's not important. The fact of the matter is like, and I don't mean to like toot my own horn, but to say like where I'm at now, where I'm the president of one of the biggest clubs in
That's
the country,
awesome, yeah.
I'm the TD of one of the biggest tournaments in the country. I'm running for the PDGA board of directors. I just started playing 7 years ago. And the first PDGA tournament I ever played, you ran.
Yeah, thank you.
were one of my first examples.
I got
Dan.
goosebumps from you, Will. You pumped that one up good.
I'm just
My
saying, let's
legs
put
are
it in
covered, my
perspective,
arms-
man.
Can
Like
you
this,
vouch, Jay?
this is
I
why
can
we
see
do.
it.
That's great.
This is why we work as hard as we do, is to honor what you did and
Thank
what
you.
Dave Griffin and Ken Folger and Steve Hardy and Danny Lane and Dave Borders and Ben Northcutt and
Ben
David Eiler
Northcutt.
and Barry
And the
Gill.
list
Amen, amen to
like,
Ben Northcutt.
those
Rest
guys,
in peace, my friend.
Everybody that came before us, like we not only are we charged with making what we have better and growing it and making it bigger, but we have to honor what the legacy of what it is that we're representing.
Thank you, man. I really
Absolutely.
that the goosebumps are from that's the instant gratification, and it's amazing from 2014 that I still get to feel those. You guys are too kind, and the compliments I get from that tournament, and I'm hoping to take Lake Lure to that in 5 years and keep it there for 20 more. So, but
Honestly,
that
dude.
feels so good to know that you came there and you impacted from that tournament, and now you're delivering as good or better than what I put out there. To me, that tells me that it was worth my 6-hour drive every weekend for 5 months. So I really appreciate that, Will. Thank you. And thank you for everything that you're doing for the club and all the people in disc golf. And I hope other people are inspired from your events the way you were inspired from mine.
Well, thank you.
Appreciate
Dan.
that.
And I mean,
That's awesome.
there's a disc golf connection and there's a human connection, and sometimes you interact with somebody and there's a soul connection that happens, and it's like, and I've found this with a lot of the people that I interact with that are TDs of events at a large scale, whether they run a whole lot of little events or couple big events or what anywhere in between. It's like I have this same feeling when I'm in a room with you as I do when I'm in a room with Mike Solt or Jason Wilder or Steve Story or Doug Bjerkes or
thanks,
you know what I mean, or Sean Sinclair. It's like the people that give of themselves so freely to make this stuff better. You know what I mean?
That's awesome, man. I appreciate that a lot.
Like I feel
Love
like
and passion.
we can
Good
have this
stuff.
kind of conversation this comfortably because of the fact that we love each other the same way. We have the same passion.
Definitely. Much respect for you and what you're doing, and also learning, that's part of my career rubbed off a little bit on my personal life. So learning to separate the two and being focused, but yet being approachable and being able to deal with people is where I struggle. So I guess that's why they stuck me out in Lake Lure. I can drive up to the mountains and cuss at Chimney Rock, but there ain't nobody else there to hear me. So I have a good
Sometimes
time
that's what
that
it
way.
takes. I cuss a lot of inanimate objects.
To get through it.
Absolutely,
But,
absolutely.
Yeah, you can't hide the passion that somebody puts into something. It showed from their effort. And I think that was the same in the tip of the week. But
Yeah, I think I guess I had your passion. I read your passion. I could see it on your face when I first met you. I guess Seven Oaks.
yeah, that
Back in the old
that's
school
been a
days when it was
while.
just me, you, Rodney, Steve, maybe Josh, maybe Jake. We
Yeah.
had a couple people out there, and I remember having my first Roadrunner and just like watching see these guys. It's like pure, and it was orange. It was like Star Plastic or something like that. My favorite disc forever. And
For the record, it took Marcus a whole 2 weeks to throw the Roadrunner better than me. I gave him one and then took it back 2 weeks later because he beat me.
And you would tell
can't have this
stories,
anymore.
man. I'd listen to Rodney, I'd listen to you guys, and that really just inspired me. Because before
Thank you,
then,
Marcus.
I was just playing object golf in the back of my friend's, house, and we were throwing to a little small like kids basketball goal, and like to the left side of a house, and then to like the, the tire on the side of the road, and then I went to Seven Oaks and I found you guys, and at that point I was hooked. There was nothing I'm sorry.
There come the goosebumps
Yeah.
again. Yeah, that's a good Marcus. And I'll elaborate from there for those of you that don't know a lot about Marcus back in the day. But he's right. He got hooked fast, and I don't know why, but he came to me, and I guess he said it was the passion. But he said, "Mountain Man, I want to learn how to putt." And I said, "Well, I don't know if you're asking the right guy, but we'll give it a shot." And we came over here to his yard. He's still at this same house.
Yeah.
And we set these back. He said, "Man, I got the perfect hills in the backyard. I don't know if y'all been over
does.
here yet or
He
not,
does.
but come on over and get your putt on, because that's how Marcus learned how to make all them putts in this yard. Because if you missed one, you had to walk all the way back down the hill and get the putter." But yeah, we sat over here for a good while, Marcus, and had a lot of fun and swapped disc. I think to this day we still try to give each other a disc when we see them. And in fact,
Yeah.
your 2-chain putter that you gave me about 2 years ago is what I'm putting with now. I don't have the same grip I had, so the Glow Big Beads are a little tougher unless I'm playing a lot. And right now I'm running a lot of chainsaws and weed eaters. So, but when I get back in,
that's a real struggle, man.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
it is.
now using the 2-chain that you gave me is in my back. Used it this weekend with DJ. Now, of course, I can't say I did a whole lot with it because I think DJ made most of the shots. But
Y'all were on fire this weekend for sure.
we played good.
Y'all did
I
pretty
was-
good,
I-
man.
we
Y'all
did.
did
You
pretty
did.
good.
You notice I wanted to get back on top, and the only way to do it was to find the best player in Nashville and get on his team. But at least one of the best players. in
Yeah,
Nashville.
sure. I mean,
Not taking anything away from who's here, because you definitely got some good golfers around this area.
yes, we do, and they keep exploding. There's names all of a sudden you hop up and you're like, "Whoa, who's this guy?" And he's like, "Oh, started playing 2 years ago," and you didn't know who he was, and all of a sudden he's like 975 rated, beating everybody at tags. And you're like, "Wow."
Back to what Marcus was saying, and this comes true for all you guys out there, anybody who's new to the sport. We touch on it with the focus. It's just every single shot out there you're able to do, and Marcus was living proof of it. Was when he started, I didn't even have an Anheuser. I didn't have a Heiser. A lot of you probably don't know my shot, but I was just a straight line golfer. Everything I threw was flat and straight, including my putter. I didn't have a lot of angles to my game. And people like Marcus would pump me up and give me confidence and say how great I was throwing those straight lines. I said, "Marcus, I throw the straight lines because I can't throw any other ones. I'm not very good at all." But didn't take long to figure that out, because about a month later, I come over to putt with Marcus. We kind of made it a weekly thing. We would sit out in the yard here and stuff and hang out and talk and putt at baskets. And Marcus had a ton of questions. Well, I'll get to that in a minute. But one, we went across the street about 2 months into practicing with Marcus and throwing putters in the yard. And Marcus said, "Dan, come over here across the street. You got school over here," where we used to throw drives down the side of the school. Well, we both had a spot where we landed all the time. So I threw my drive out there and felt good about it, and Marcus didn't quite get it that far, And then he said, "But I want to show you something." And he grabs I'm trying to remember what it was, and I can't remember it right now. Marcus, you probably don't remember either, but it might have been a Wraith, but he lined up and threw an Anheuser, and I never threw many Anheisers off the tee pad because I wasn't sure where it was going to end up. And Marcus' drive landed about 90 feet past mine, and that's when I knew. So what I was saying earlier, it's about how much effort you put into something is what you get out of it. A lot of us, when we come into the sport, our passion is overflowing. And then we get stuck in this rhythm where we show up and do the same things every week, and we're not happy with our game, or our expectations become lower because we haven't had that great round in a while. And I challenge everybody to just put a little more effort into your game, a little more focus on your line, and know that you're just as good as that next guy. And if you want to achieve it or you want to do it, you just have to apply the effort. And
Absolutely.
each golfer can make those same shots. But people like Marcus, so I'm showing him, and at least I thought I was, but actually Marcus was showing me Anheisers and Heisers, and this was 8 years into me already playing. So that's the whole idea, guys, is, get out there with
Absolutely.
your friends, throw shots, talk to each other, communicate, and go after it on the level that you expect to play at each day, and apply the effort, so that if you're disappointed and you applied the effort, then you just fell short, and that's normal. But if your expectations are high and you haven't applied the effort, you probably didn't deserve to win.
Absolutely.
So that's the bottom line. But thanks for bringing that up, Marcus. There's a lot of good history back here in Nashville, and
there's a lot
really
more.
miss all of you guys, and filled with just emotion, and just being in this room around you guys, and what Music City Disc Golf is doing to what was home to me in my career, and starting at Seven Oaks. It's just amazing, and just overflowing with applause and gratitude for each one of you. So I get to come back here and enjoy these events.
Yeah, we're very lucky to have you here, so thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
It's a real
Absolutely.
treat for us, for
Appreciate
sure, man.
that.
And
Appreciate it.
And we're totally unsupervised now because internet totally dropped the feed to Facebook. So
they're like, no more.
yeah. But no, man. What was it like? Because we talked a little bit about this off the air, but you were on the road with like the top 5 disc golfers in the world right now when they were like 16
Kids.
yeah.
Macbeth was 17. I
So,
think, so.
tell us about like, because I know at some point you kind of made that transition. Well, you're kind of unique in that you never really transitioned. You were still playing, but you were also running events and doing ambassador type stuff. But like, how did that develop where you found yourself in that position where you were on tour with some of the best up and coming young disc golfers and like I mean, I don't even know where to start. Like, what was that like? You're all of a sudden in a role model position, and you're
not really, because these guys were so talented and came from certain areas. You can start with Paul Macbeth playing out west, and had people like Steve Rico and all these top touring pros. When I met these kids, I met Paul Macbeth in Kansas City putting at Waterworks up on top of the hill after the Kansas City Wide Open NT. And that's where I met Paul Macbeth, because he didn't make the Final Four, and he was mad, so he's over there on a basket putting, and of course that's where I always was. I feel like if you can make it at the end, you can score, if you can get it in the basket. But so that's kind of how I discovered him, and of course I can talk to a fence post, so I started talking to him. And but yeah, definitely got to share a lot with Macbeth for about a year there in 07, 08, that time frame. In fact, at the Hambrick, we stayed together there, and yeah, he was young back then. In fact, if you pull it up 08 at the Hambrick, Macbeth finished 5th, one out of the Final Four that year. That I was able to win it, and he opened the tournament with a 9 under, which I finished with a 9 under the final round to get that win. But yeah, these kids, man, they were just so good at that point that I don't know that I was any kind of a mentor for any of them, but
well, what was your role? How did that all get arranged?
I had my own company, so I would get hotel rooms, and disc golfers didn't have a lot of money. The one thing they needed was somewhere to stay to help these kids make money while they were out there.
Sure.
They weren't quite making money yet, but some of them were. Not the money they're making now.
Yeah.
But so it was just an idea of, I really wanted them to have a place to stay. To answer your question, I was a youth sports coach for 6 years, and like I said earlier, which limited my play in the beginning. But so I always wanted to. I guess I tended to the newer typing tour players, because you looked at these kids and you knew that was the future of disc golf. I can remember a disc golf magazine that had a photo of Paul Macbeth, Will Schustrick, and Nico LaCastro leaning on a rail. And it wasn't quite that time yet, but you knew it was those three's time coming up, and you try to pick out which ones were going to make it. But just being around these kids, knowing that they're going to be where they're at now. So for me, of course I wanted to put them in the room and, be around them and stuff like that, and just look at their characteristics and the way they do. And you kind of knew who was going to be on top.
Yeah.
At that time.
You talk about that, and you talk about Nico. I mean, he started off in his career super young, winning tournaments, eventually as a young man. And then it took, I don't know what you would call it. I wouldn't call it a break or a hiatus, but a second to adapt to the talent that fell a little bit after. And now no, I don't think he plateaued. I think he was one of the best in the game, and then when all this talent came out of nowhere, kind of caught everybody off guard. And then I think he's gotten to a point now where like he's working at their level as far as work ethic wise, as far as athletic wise, as far as putting in extra time like these younger guys are, and it pays off. Look at him now. He just won.
Yeah, I heard he just won one this weekend, right? Didn't Nico just win one?
And it seems like it was more for me, like for watching Nico, it was the mental more than the physical.
Correct. And whatever it may have been.
He always had
I would agree with that.
Right. And if his mind had been in it, it seemed like the whole span of his career, then I think he would have a couple more wins. I'm sorry if
Absolutely. No. I think you're 100% right.
Yeah.
I mean, look at him when he started playing. He was a teenager. Playing on, 20, 21 years old. Were you in a mindset of trying to be a professional 24/7 at 21 years old.
I don't think I knew that word at 21.
Yeah, I mean, rarely people do, and those athletes, because of the way our sport is, and any sport nowadays.
But good point that it's re-energizing some of the players that have been
Yeah.
around for a while to see these kids take it to the level. Paul Macbeth, I keep calling him a kid. He's not a kid, but taking it to 1061, and it's inspiring some of these other guys that maybe got into a little bit of a drought. Nico, by far, has always had great talent. Nothing short of that. But I think it's obvious that you look at the golfers and you'll kind of see that how much effort you put into something is what you get back out of it. Maybe they're just redirecting their discipline so that they're able to compete at the level that the sport's being brought up to. It's requiring you to have more discipline. Back in the day, if you had raw talent, you'd beat everybody and never had to practice.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you're not going to be able to do that because these people that came in, that's a great point. They have stepped up their training. They have stepped up the way that they prepare for events. They're not only showing up professional, they're coming up to win the event because they deserve to win the event. They put in more time than you.
Absolutely.
I had a football coach in 1978. I was 12 years old, and he looked right at us, and we had always asked him, "We're going to win, coach?" And he said, "Well, I can tell you this. If you can look at yourself and say you done something this week that another team ain't doing, then I'll tell you this, you deserve to win." Yep. That's all I needed to hear. That was at 12 years old. But the whole idea is the fact that when we get something because we deserve it, it sure feels a lot better. You can tell the wins that you got because you were the best player there or you had the best day by luck or other things like that. But when you go to a tournament and you prepare and then you win or you do well or you meet your expectation, I'll tell everybody there's no better feeling in the world if you're a competitive player. And you can turn this over to what McCaskill was just saying, Will was saying earlier, is you can do the same thing for an event. How you prepare for that event, how much effort did you put into that event? I think that goes to show the same thing. That event's going to turn out. More people are going to be affected or infected by disc golf and all that by the amount of effort that you put into it. So don't go to an event thinking that you're going to get a lot out of it because you just showed up and had a tournament and stuck a couple paper signs out there. I think Jay will tell you when we set up Ravenwood, one of my things is that I think if it looks good, it tastes good. Mm-hmm. So Jay and I went to 27 baskets. I don't know that he agreed with it at first, but we straightened every single flag so it was straight up and down, and we used my 4-foot level, and we leveled all 27 baskets.
Which is why, Will, you see why I get so anal about level baskets.
And
I do too, man, because I can't stand seeing crooked baskets.
And we leveled them in both directions, every single basket. And my point was, if we're getting pictures out here, there ain't no way I'm going to have a stamp on this thing with my name on it. With a crooked basket or a crooked flag.
Yeah, it could be one basket they would spot out. It would be one basket they would spot out. Like, look at this basket.
Look at that basket. Yeah. Everybody would notice hole 8. So that's the other thing to it. Either do them all correctly or do them all wrong. Yeah. That way, no matter what, you have the same look. I'm just kidding. Do them all correctly.
Yeah. Just you have to measure and do like equal and opposite algebra. So like you have a 7 degree on one to one side. To north, like 7 degrees north on hole 1, and then you have to do 7 degrees south.
And in fact,
people don't realize that like the basket is on a whole different set of screws. So the bottom of the basket may be level, but the basket ain't level.
That's correct, and that means you got to have your wrenches so that you can tighten up the screws and level the baskets and the trays. That's what we did on all 27 baskets.
We had already had the bottom.
So there's more to it. Yeah, good point, Jay. But no, you don't have to be that anal about anything. It's just each of us have a certain thing that we are anal about.
Sure.
And you should always follow your passion and do things the way that you want them so that your expectations can be met.
Absolutely.
Good point, Jay.
For sure.
Man.
So how did you get your nickname?
Ooh. That's a good one.
That was
probably 95, I'm going to say, somewhere around there, 95, 96. Dennis Rowland got me in the sport and carrying my black duffel bag around. Or I think the first 3 months I didn't even have a bag. I just carried 5 discs, Anyway, Dennis was married to Frances Rowland, Frances Rowland, his wife, and we were at 7 Oaks. I threw a shot on hole 2. I thought I just killed it. I got all the way down to the big tree. It was in the long, and I was just short of the big tree and kind of pumped up walking down the hill. And Dennis's wife was coming down, cutting through the path on the end of the parking lot behind 1 where you cut across 18's basket right there. Yeah. And she's coming across as we're walking over the thing, and she hollers across the golf course, something about, look at them legs. And then somebody made a comment, and then she screams back, them's mountain man legs. And I bet you 8 people heard it, and that's all it took at Seven Oaks. So if you want to know if disc golf is a family, those 8 people, and they never let that go. So I just said the hell with it and kept it.
Yeah, it's very fitting.
When you get one like that, usually it's the right one, you know. So that's what led me to
Seven
that.
Oaks is the kind of place that like draws people that
Staying
give
power.
nicknames.
The only name that's very similar, like kind of similar, is like Travis O'Quillan. What was his?
Travis
Oh
Quillen.
man, I don't
Travis
remember.
Quillen, yeah.
I don't remember Quillen's nickname.
It was like Iron Man or something, right?
Yeah, Iron Man.
Yeah.
Iron Man.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's because he was going like literally work
Golf.
12 hours, golf for another, and then like wake
I
up
do
on 3
remember
hours of
that,
sleep and
yeah.
do it again.
Yeah.
Like he was just plowing through. I don't know. Did you ever get to meet Travis?
Yeah, I've met Travis.
Okay,
I talked to him online, but it's like now it's got to be something about Seven Oaks specifically because now you've got Krusty, who gives everybody he meets a new nickname. He's like, "What's your name?" And you tell him your name, and he goes, "Okay, your name's this." Like I'm fat. Dr. Hoy is dizzy, and I call him Crunchy or Crispy or.
All I know is he loves to give hugs, and you better catch him before he's been playing.
Oh man, no shirt or a tank top,
Absolutely.
clammy.
A little bit.
Oh man,
God love him, though. He's
I
one of the best
I
dudes
almost
ever.
blurted out my other nickname for him, but it wouldn't be good to do
Yeah,
on the
I feel ya.
podcast.
After Hours. Brought to
Yeah,
you
that's
by
how that came
After
about.
Speaking
City
of
Disc
After
Golf
Hours.
Podcast.
Well, technically, we're off the stream, so this could be the after hours.
Yeah, absolutely.
But okay, so I asked you about your nickname. Now, tell us about the ring that you've got on your hand. Hold it up for the camera.
we'll
You
let
got a
that
ring?
go.
Got a camera? Right
There's
there.
a camera right here. Hold up that ring. Get it nice and close. Let's
Yeah,
let's
get
hold
in
that
there.
up there. Let's get a good look at that ring. All right. Yeah, now it focused. Okay, so that's a real pretty ring.
Yeah, that's
Very
my
pretty
first 300 in bowling. That's my first 300 in bowling. And my dad sent me $600 to upgrade from the silver ring to the gold one. I've had a few silver ones after that, but I didn't afford to buy them all in gold. But yeah, I'm pretty proud of that. But a lot of people, there are several people in disc golf at the top level, and I can't remember all of them, but I know Climo's got one too. I don't know if he bought the gold one or not, but I know he has one. And I heard Justin Bonnell, is that right? Maybe he was a pro bowler
Oh, yes,
too.
yes.
Well, I bet he's got way more than I got. But yeah, I think a big part of sports and putting, number one, is definitely has a lot to do with bowling the exact same way. You know, you line up a shot, you stand on the lane, you decide what board you're standing on. Arrows are 5 boards apiece, and you're playing a certain line. It's the same in disc golf, you know. And I mentioned earlier about Barry Schultz putting a ring out there. He knows if he's got that angle going through that ring, it's fixing to cut down and hit that. It's fixing to drop right in the middle of that basket. So it has a lot to do. Bowling has a lot to do with putting. I think all sports on a professional level are eye-hand coordination probably, equal out to be the same thing.
I know I translate a lot of basketball into disc golf, and people don't realize that, but it's especially when it comes to putting. Fortunately, I put a lot of time and effort and practice into basketball and shooting 3-point shots. I mean, that was kind of one of those things I was known for as far as my basketball game. And it may be a different downward motion as compared to a sideward motion, but the wrist action itself is very much the same. So having that wrist action my putting game is the only thing that saves me in my game 9 out of 10 times. And it's because of having that same wrist flick. And it's a hand-eye thing, because the majority of the putts I make from outside the circle, it's when my body's, when I'm not, I put my eyes on it, and it's like, that's what you're going to do, and you just do it. Yeah. You don't think about it. It's just so natural. Your eyes are looking at it. That's where your hand puts it.
Yeah.
And so I completely understand where that comes across, where you can see it. And basketball is completely not like disc golf at all, but that one exception.
Same technique, yeah. Exactly.
You know?
And I think eye hand is what we do in disc golf. It's,
absolutely.
Has a lot to do with that. Release, and that'll bring me to another one. We go back to the tip of the week. I'll add a second one in for. I told you I'd tell you about a question
2 for 1
remix.
Marcus had coming up out of Alabama one year. We went down to Huntsville and played in the Rocket City. Mm-hmm. And Marcus, I'm going to say it was probably 09 or 2000. It was 09, because 2010 I played the Memorial. I wouldn't have been around at that time. I think it was early in the year that year. I can't remember exactly what month that tournament was. Anyway, we were driving home, and we're in the car, and we get done, and I think I won or something. I played well. And Marcus is shaking his head a little bit with his putter and everything. Do you know the question I'm going to – you don't remember what you asked me in the car that day?
No, go ahead.
All the way home, Marcus wanted to know, Mountain Man, what's the last thing that leaves the putter? Is it your thumb or your finger?
Oh,
Look at him cover his face. He remembers now.
right.
That is such a Marcus question.
That is – but
Very technical.
Right, and he
Splitting
learned,
hairs much.
I don't know how many of you played with him, but he learned over the years what the last thing was off his disc. And I think that's why he kept water in his bag so he could dip his thumb in there so it would stick in the middle of that disc. And I'll bring y'all up another name. Back in the day, Wayne Brown played at Seven Oaks. I don't know how many of you know Wayne Brown. We called him Wayno.
He would stick his
This
thumb
guy
so
would
far
dig
in
his
disc.
thumb through it. If you ever got a disc from Wayne Brown, he didn't have to have his name on it because he had his thumbprint on the inside of the disc from pushing on the outside. But this guy would sit there and get ready to putt, dig his foot in the ground, and literally dig his thumb for 15 – he plays in Virginia now and still does it at Virginia Beach and stuff. But that just goes to show you. But, you know, the last thing that you're releasing in the push on a spin putt, your thumb's on top and you're releasing the thumb from this motion to your wrist to a 90-degree angle. So if you can do that every time, you'll never miss a putt.
Well, there you go, folks.
Watch out.
Watch
More
it.
tips.
All
I don't know
this-
how many tips you need
Was it
tonight.
black-
Watch this episode.
There's about
you're gonna
30.
get pro
There's
tomorrow.
about 30 intermediate
Black
players that are about to move
Black
up to
Magnus.
advance.
Do you remember that, though? You asking that question?
Oh,
You don't.
yeah, dude. That's amazing.
It killed it. I didn't answer it for about 30 minutes in the car. We just talked. I said, I don't know. I said, grab your putter. Let's sit here and mess with it, you know. But it was pretty awesome. Yeah, good story.
That's funny.
Wasn't many times I traveled and had somebody in the car, but Marcus was definitely one that you didn't want to leave at home. He was a good guy to have around. Didn't matter where you wanted to go to eat. Marcus said, "Yep, sounds good to me." Ask him what he wanted to do. Yep, sounds
He's
good to
easy.
me.
He's easy going.
That guy,
I got a lot of love from Marcus Rogers.
Yeah, you
man.
put that guy in your car. You don't have to worry about somebody interfering with your frivolous, you know, because you didn't have to focus on his ideas or opinions.
Yeah.
You could go there and do what you wanted to do. So Marcus was a great travel partner.
Thank you.
And then
Appreciate
later on in his career, when he started winning, he was good to have around because after he won, he'd feel good and buy your lunch and everything else. So you definitely wanted him when he won.
Never change.
It paid off having him in the car, you're saying.
Man, he just if you know Marcus, you know that if your cup is full, you share it, and if it's empty, you stick it out. That's how life works, you know.
I don't know if he came to this point because of the fact that we talked about it on the podcast back in the day, but it was always like we talked about for the first year and a half that we did the podcast when we were audio only, huddled around one microphone.
Yeah.
Like we really we should really get better gear and get better audio quality and do video and all this stuff. And every time it came up, I was always like, man, that's just more stuff I got to do, and it's more stuff we got to set up and break down. I was like, if it happens, it's going to be one dude in the community that sees what we're doing and thinks, okay, I can figure out how to make that better, and then we'll create a studio that we can show up and just plug into and record it. And lo and behold, like a year and a half later.
Yeah.
Man, and I'm so honored to be in this room,
In the
man, with
Sapphire
these
Lounge.
people, and really impressive. I'm really impressed when I come back to Nashville and what you guys have done. And I know everybody in this area that's put any effort into anything is super, super proud of where this is going and the amount of golf that's available at all levels. Even
It's
at
crazy.
a competitive event at the MCTG, there's still that event going on at another course the same day that takes the kid that's never thrown a disc in his life, you know, and for you guys to offer something like that in this area, it's keeping me coming back.
Well, those are words that mean the world to me, and I'm sure they do for Will.
It does.
I mean, because when
Really
it's coming from
awesome.
somebody like you, that's that instant gratification you're talking about.
Well, and that's
Thank you, Jay.
you touched on that concept earlier that disc golf is all things to all people, and that's something I believe in very, very heavily. And that
Awesome.
I think that no matter what we do to grow the sport, it needs to remain
Good for all
available for everybody. Whether you want to just play once a month with your buddies, super casual, or you want to one day be on the tour. Like
That's right.
everybody should be able to get into it at a level that is comfortable for them. And
Man, you couldn't have said that any better. That's exactly right.
and clubs and organizations and people that are promoting and administrating should actively invest in making sure that it's accessible to everybody at every level.
Good point.
I mean, and this is something that I've said in my bid for the PDGA board. It's like, you know, there seems to be this unspoken consensus that if you make something better for the pros, you're making it worse for the AMs. Or like it's mutually exclusive, where if you make something better for one person, it gets worse for somebody else. I don't buy that. That's a cop out.
I'll back you up on that, because I was out at White House this weekend at that doubles event. Who'd y'all say that's Lance Kirby out there that takes care of that? And I don't know much about Lance, but I did get to meet him last year or so, and shook my hand and gave me a lot of props about Ravenwood. And but I got to say, what they've done out there at White House, I just saw. I played 21 holes. They added a couple holes, and then we played the one up at the hill at the end. But I noticed that every single tee pad, there was a basket within 150 foot off the pad, whether it was left, right, or behind a tree or straight. There was probably 18. There was probably 13 different shots. I can't see one pro that wouldn't have that as an upshot somewhere in their tournament. So even if you weren't there to play the other alignment and you brought your kids to the park, you could still bring your disc and your putters that apply for the distances being thrown.
Absolutely.
And you're still working on accuracy. So to me, hats off to Lance and the guys, whoever made that decision. But to have baskets at those short distances is very inspiring to somebody walking through a park with 3 discs in their hand. It's very intimidating to see one 400 feet out thinking they're going to hold up the next people that show up, and they get anxiety and they walk off the course. So I think what Lance is doing over there should go everywhere, and people should have baskets within 150 feet off the pad so that we can grow this sport for everyone and not just
this is exactly because, and this is I have to say this because we have courses that need new baskets worse than White House needed new baskets. What put them at the front of the list was Lance came to me and he said that he wanted to get the baskets they had were, you could hardly see them because they're the same color as all the trees. Ones. But he was gonna ban them or whatever anyway. But the idea was to get new baskets for the regular layout and use those baskets, wrap them, make them more visible, and use them for the kids' course.
Amazing.
So it was like, well, we're not only replacing one course's baskets, we're creating we're knocking out 2 birds with one stone.
Yeah.
And now the schools in that area, if we're able to get disc golf in those schools, they have a place where those kids can go and play against each other.
So you don't have to set up a temporary course, and they can practice it anytime they want. So,
and the day we put the baskets in the ground, we went and played because we put like 6 or 7 of the kids' holes in. And Lance and Elise's daughter was with us, and she got to throw the inaugural shots at those.
And that's perfect. And that's what the sport needs. We need grandma playing with granddaughter. We need moms playing with dads. We need all of it. And when you go to a course and you see something like that, and man, that course is really kept beautiful. Well. It's like going to Cedar Hill, and watching the way those guys take care of that course.
It's immaculate.
But and I said it earlier, if it looks good, it tastes good. These kids go out there and play this course, and they tell 10 of their friends, and pretty soon, look at how this sport grows. So not only did you put up a second set of baskets, I know the Music City probably helped get those baskets, but this is what those baskets didn't just put in a kids course. Those baskets probably are going to inspire in the next 10 years 500 new golfers. If that doesn't raise the hair on your arm, why are we doing this?
Exactly.
Yeah, because kids have more close friends than I guess adults do. Kids want to hang out with other kids.
Bigger
adults
groups.
want to hang out with other dudes, other adults occasionally.
Correct.
True that.
Hey, what's up, man? I haven't seen you all week. Let's get together. Okay, next week. Next week. Okay, not this week. 'Cause I got my kids. You got your kids.
Exactly.
But when kids get together, they're like, hey, man, what are you doing today? What do you want to do? Let's go out and do something. You want to play basketball? No, I don't want to play basketball. Let's play disc golf. Okay, cool. And they'll definitely bring out all their other friends.
I was just gonna drop this just as a frame of mind because you said giving props to those guys out in White House.
I know you.
The new baskets went in and literally the kids' course went at the same time almost. That's the testament to those guys.
That's really good stuff.
It wasn't a month later or 2 weeks later or even. A lot of times it takes some time to get some other baskets in.
Correct.
They hammered it out. I mean, that's how passionate they are out there. And that's
awesome. And before you could take your kids to the park and you could play at Seven Oaks with your kids because Dennis did it with all of his, and they can throw down the fairway as we go. But now when you put these baskets that close, they can keep score. They can start to get back. Maybe they're competitive. So
absolutely.
I really like the options that it brings, and just how good it looked having that out there. That not only does it show that you have two types of courses, but it also shows that people in the sport are for the growth of disc golf. And I think that's the main key, is showing our passion. Always show our passion and how much we care about what we're doing.
Lance, I hope you're listening, because you're doing great things, brother.
Yep, and I want to say thank you, Dan, for this beautiful gift. I don't know if you guys even understand
golf
what
snaps
this
on that.
is, but it's pretty
Awesome.
special, and it's even got a Mountain Man Dan.
You will find a couple Mountain Man Dan signatures out there, so look for
This
this.
is
Color glow,
special.
big bead.
I think you're the first guest that's ever brought it. Well, no.
Brought us a gift.
Bradford Watson brought us some stuff.
Nice.
But this is definitely the first one that is getting a place of honor on the wall. I'll leave that to you, Marcus.
Nice.
It's in good hands now.
All right, Dan, I know you drove a long way to get to a long way from here, and then drove that extra long way to get
That's
here.
okay.
And I'm grateful for you. For you, I'm grateful that you
Incredibly.
exist. But I'm grateful that you made the trip
Pilgrimage.
down here to be here in the studio with us. This means a lot to us, and it's been a real joy
Thank you,
getting
Will.
to just conversate.
I
with
appreciate
you.
it.
Absolutely.
And,
100%.
anytime I'm in town, I know I'm not much to talk to very often, but once in a while I'd love to come in with you guys. Anytime you don't have a guest or anything, let me know.
Open-ended.
And especially if you have topics or anything like that that are in my neck of the woods, or something that I could be helpful for, I would be more than glad to be a part of anything with the Music City Disc Golf.
We normally record on Monday nights, and so if you're ever around on a Monday night, you can always sit in with us anytime.
Yeah.
And if you're going to be in town and you're not going to just barely miss a Monday night, we might make a special consideration.
Well, likewise,
and
if
move
you've
to
got
Sunday
events
or
going
something
on, if
for
you're
you.
running events.
Yeah,
you wanna
anytime
plug
you have
them,
something
let
you
us
want to
know.
put on the airwaves,
Sure.
just let us know for sure.
Thanks a lot, man. Yeah,
Absolutely.
not really. I just got the Lake Lure I'm working on all year this year. So
Well, from what I understand, Lake Lure sounds like an amazing place to play disc golf.
Well,
it
hey,
will
you guys,
definitely
if you-
take your breath as you walk on some of the
so
tee
I'm
pads.
looking forward to see. I want to get out there and play that.
There
place.
are probably 5 tee pads that you're more than 100 feet above the pin.
So
It's just a lot of
Love
fun.
some downhill.
There are only 3 uphill shots on the whole course. So my design is Sean and I have tried to keep into mind of the trout, playing 27 holes back-to-back 2 days on a mountain course. I want you to enjoy your golf, but I also want you to be able to enjoy your golf and be competitive while you're being challenged for your stamina, and it helps keep us all in shape and just mostly have a good time. But I think the biggest thing about Lake Lure is the atmosphere. You're almost sublime the whole time you're there. Everywhere you look, everywhere you go, you can go into town, and the Lake House restaurant's right there, and you can eat ribs
When
on
are
the
we
boat
going, Marcus?
docks. So
That
When we
sounds
going?
greasy.
It looks like we're going September 9th.
I
we are
could
ready
probably
for
pull that off.
September
That's right
9th.
around the birthday.
September
Man,
9th.
you guys
I thought you
don't
said
make
the
a bunch of
19th
promises
earlier,
now.
right?
That's
I-
the week
I-
before the Music City, so this year the planning
Oh.
might not work for you
Yeah.
guys, but
Don't be
I
throwing
will.
me under the bus like that.
Wait a
Wait,
minute. Hey,
You
before
better
we-
not.
before
You
we-
better not.
hey, hold
You
on.
can.
Hold on, before we get off the air, Will made me a promise that
All right.
within the next 5 years he's
Yeah.
going to play Lake Lure.
Oh, yeah.
I will make.
If you
that
guys will
promise
just
too.
give me that,
I'll
I don't
give you
need to
that.
hear this year because it's going to take me 5 years to put the course in that I want. that
How
Sean and I are
about
shooting
this?
for. But
I'm not going that far and staying for one day, so I say we make a weekend of it, or if not a little bit more. And how about we put in some sweat and tears into it where you need us, and then let us be rewarded by playing it.
wow, that
Yeah,
would
we
be
won't have the
impressive.
same jobs forever.
Anytime,
but like,
yeah.
let's say you said it's the weekend of September 9th or 19th.
September 11th and 12th.
11th and 12th. So the weekend of
It's
September.
already open on PDJ. There's almost 40 maybe signed up.
Okay.
Awesome.
So if you guys are Eastern Seaboarders or East Coasters and you're thinking about coming out for Music City Open, well, this is right on the way to Nashville.
Nice, yeah, it is.
Just before the Music City Open. This would be a real good one to hit, especially if you're trying to get in the Music City Open spirit, because Nashville Disc Golf Store is part and parcel with this event.
That's right.
So you're going to get a little Nashville
Little taste of
flavor
home.
down in the Carolinas.
Nashville Disc Golf it stores a lot to do with this event. You know, Sean making the whole trip does the whole payout is part of the design. He's brings his baskets all the way from Nashville. He rolls up his tee pads, brings them out, sets them up. We'll have a nice big spread. You can eat while you're there.
I can vouch those
It's
tee
just-
pads are very heavy.
Yeah, we
They
carry
are. Yeah, in fact, you guys used them at the MCDG
yeah,
at the Ravenwood. He told me about that.
We might have made some of those.
Yeah,
we cut those for
We definitely cut
Ravenwood,
those.
and then
Yeah.
we gave most of them back to Sean. Some of them
But
went
he
to
gave
King
us the
Ridge,
access
but
to the
But yeah,
turf.
he was the one that told us
And,
where they were. And where
really
the
worked
turf
out
was,
great.
yeah.
They really helped us at Lake Lure. Those
And
are
they're
really good tee pads.
Wonderful tee pads, aren't they?
Yeah, they work really good. But,
I mean, they look funny, but it's like the turf is super
works.
quality.
Yeah,
Super
you don't
good
slide,
athletic.
and you're able to rotate your foot if you're a follow-through driver, or
It's
plant
beautiful.
your foot either one. So it gives you both options.
But we'll keep gabbing all night if we
Nice.
don't
I
let this
know it.
man
I
get
know
out of
it.
here.
Yeah, I know
So,
it.
Dan, thank you again. We love you. And
love you guys, man.
Absolutely.
anytime you have anything that you would like to get on the airwaves, even if you're out of town, if there's something that you want to put out for everybody to hear, we'll get you in on a momentary Zoom call and throw you in on an episode or something.
That'll be great.
Just to put some buzz out there for you.
Well, thank you guys again for your time, and I was more than honored, flattered to even be invited or being a part
We
of the
feel
show.
the same.
I'll tell 'em
We
that.
feel honored that you're
So
here.
thank you guys.
What do you got over there, Marcus? Right quick.
Well, first off, you can't come in my house and give me a disc or give the Sapphire Lounge
that
a
looks
disc without
special.
that
looks special what you got in your hand
We've
right
passed
there.
this back and forth so many times already, so this is, I don't know, like encounter number 12, 15, 1700 when I'm giving you a disc and you give me a disc. And this one in particular, you signed already. I'm actually going to ask you to do something for me. Take it with you.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Mark.
And get something on
Sounds like
there.
it's been aced with.
No. You know about that disc.
Yeah.
It's got Ken Climo. It's
About
got Barry
50
Schultz.
times.
It's
There's a
got
lot
some
of
lot of
names on
signatures
it.
and a lot of
man.
names on there.
Marcus, why are you giving that to me, Marcus?
Well, you're historic.
Thank you, man.
You are just definitely one of the best guys I've ever played golf with, and you mean a lot to me. So check it out.
I'll definitely protect it and hang it on the wall somewhere.
Guard it with your life,
Take a look
dude.
at it. This is
Yeah, that's got
impressive,
some
right? There's a
signatures
lot
on
of
it.
big names on that disc. There's just a lot of good names on this disc, and being in a part of disc golf.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And thank you, Marcus. I
you're
appreciate that.
Nice.
I'll see you guys again soon. Thanks
We hope
for
so.
having me.
Hope
All
so.
right, peace.
Nashville, thank you for tuning in.
Adios,
And
guys.
this has been episode 88 for Jay Skinner, Marcus Rogers, and Mountain Man Dan Sisk. I'm Will McCaskill. Thank you for turning in. Like, share, rate, review,
Comment that
subscribe,
thing.
comment, all that good stuff, and we'll catch you on the flip.
Peace.
Let the bass kick.